It's deep night. It's dark all around, and only the bright light from the windows of the establishment cuts through the darkness, giving it a mysterious appeal. A bell hanging by the door rings, announcing the arrival of a new guest and spreading melodious sounds in the silence of the night. A man with dark hair, wearing a heavy cloak, enters. His gaze is full of determination, and his massive armor and weapons indicate his dangerous profession. He walks into a bar filled with people, each of whom is busy with his own business. This creates an atmosphere of living warmth and comfort. The bartender pours a glass of beer for a mysterious visitor and, smiling, asks the man about his harvest today, expecting to hear an interesting story. The man tells the bartender that today he only had a short walk with the recruits in the secret area of the second level, so he did not find anything valuable, only some fangs and the skin of a magical wolf. The man takes a long sip of beer from his mug and notices that a council meeting is starting to broadcast on the TV in the bar. The bartender, standing behind the bar, looks at the large screen where the broadcast of the council meeting begins. This event attracts the attention of all visitors in the bar. The screen shows a spacious council chamber, brightly lit by spotlights, in the center of which preparations are underway for an important event that may change the course of history. The voice of the chairman of the council is heard, who addresses the senators, announcing the start of voting. The silence in the hall becomes even more tense. The chairman of the council announces the results of the vote: 325 votes in favor, 0 against, and 0 abstentions, indicating a unanimous decision. The chairman reads out the protocol, from which it becomes clear that in the 7th year, according to the new calendar, a verdict was passed in case number 112, in which a dissident named Musk is involved. The President of Parliament addresses the defendant, saying that during the war, a lot of evidence was found about his committing extremely brutal murders. The President accuses Musk of imprisoning and shooting more than 30,000 people, and of attacking friendly nations of other countries, destroying strong trade relations between them. Musk sits in his chair, calmly accepting the accusations of the council president, knowing that he faces the death penalty for his actions. The council president informs the defendant that despite his service to humanity in the fight to drive out the alien invaders, he will still be stripped of his titles as Supreme Leader of the Commonwealth and Supreme Marshal. The man adds that, despite the severity of the charges, they decided to leave him the title of a special hero. Musk realizes the difficult situation the council finds itself in, since he is the only special hero in the entire Commonwealth. And according to the regulations, if extreme situations suddenly occur, he will need to return to the battlefield and join the unit. The sullen man takes a sip from his mug and says that if it were not for the defendant, who fought alone against alien enemies and mutated monsters, then people would have been destroyed back in the same year. A young man sitting next to him reacts emotionally to the man's words, believing that the credit for those battles belongs to many people and not just one person. His friend agrees and adds that it is high time for the world to get rid of a man like Musk, considering him a threat for everyone. The man says that his interlocutor is too young to understand the full depth of the disaster that occurred, in which not only ordinary people but even superheroes lost hope. But Musk stood to the last and was able to save everyone on that day, which was called a living hell. The young man continues to argue, claiming that Musk is hardly a normal person, as he claimed that the entire Commonwealth was secretly bribed by unknown forces. The guy believes that the defendant wants to return all of humanity to the dark times, when he was omnipotent and everyone praised him. The man realizes that he cannot prove anything to the young man and returns to his beer, telling the guy that he is still too young and does not understand anything. The council president tells Musk that he can leave his seat with the honor of a special hero, and humanity will never forget his contribution to the defense against monsters. The president's voice is heard telling the young man that, given Musk's past crimes, these are the only terms they can offer him within the law. The young man looks closely at the president of the council, who, from behind his massive desk, continues to announce the terms of the sentence. Musk turns his gaze to the senators, his eyes full of determination and deep emotion. The senators look at Musk carefully. Their faces are stern and impenetrable. They understand the gravity of the decision being made and realize the importance of the moment for the fate of the entire Commonwealth. Musk has flashbacks in which he remembers how he once died due to a sudden attack by the Night Lord, who suddenly overtook him at the most inopportune moment. The next flashback takes him to the very place where he was condemned and betrayed by his own partners, leaving him to his fate. Musk has the feeling that his whole life is flying before his eyes. The smallest details that he tried to forget emerge. A virtual screen appears in front of him, informing him that the main task has been completed. He offers the guy two options: continue the path of the hero or take the path of the monster. The screen displays the following message. In 20 minutes, the guy will be randomly sent to the F-level zone, which means a new round of tests and rebirth. Musk realizes that he will again participate in the process of rebirth and will find himself at the crossroads of a historical turn on which his future fate depends. The young man thinks briefly about his decisions and decides that this time he will choose the path of the monster, striving for a new goal and new opportunities. The president of the council asks the defendant what his silence means. The man suggests that the guy is not satisfied with the verdict. The president admits that Musk is second to none among heroes. However, as a leader, he was completely unconcerned with the feelings of others and lacked wisdom in handling politics. Over the past couple of years, the Commonwealth has completely destroyed Musk's credibility in the eyes of other people, despite the fact that he was a hero with extraordinary abilities and led humanity out of darkness. The president of the council informs the young man that, by court decision, he is expelled from all government institutions, depriving him of all titles and privileges. The man believes that in the future only vague memories and legends will remain of the main character, and for everyone, he will simply become a historical monument. Senators believe that if the guy does not agree with the court's decision, he will become a parasite from the old days who does not want to give up power. Musk sighs quietly, then raises his head and glances at the senators and judges, and in a quiet but confident voice declares that he protests against the court's decision, causing a wave of surprise and tense anticipation in the room. The council president, with a smirk on his face, looks at Musk, waiting for his reaction and clearly enjoying the moment of power and triumph, feeling superior in this situation. The young man behind the bar is convinced that Musk is a greedy man who does not want to give up his power and sees him only as a greedy tyrant. The guy believes that the main character sacrificed many lives to achieve his ambitions and is sure that Musk deserves the death penalty for his crimes. Musk pauses, creating a tense silence in the room, and then in a quiet but firm voice informs those present that he is relinquishing the title of special hero. The protagonist's answer causes a wave of surprise among all those gathered. Their faces reflect shock and bewilderment, and some cannot hide their anger. The president of the council, without hiding his indignation, loudly asks the main character what he is talking about. His voice is filled with anger and distrust. Musk abruptly stands up from his chair and repeats to the president that he refuses the title of a special hero, his voice sounding confident and firm. The young man sighs heavily and, addressing those present, admits that he is very tired of being a hero. His words are full of fatigue and disappointment. The president, outraged by the decision of the young man, cannot understand how he dares to express dissatisfaction with the decision of the council in his pitiful position. His anger becomes more and more obvious. The main character ignores everyone present, slowly heading towards the exit with confident and decisive steps. Despite the storm of emotions boiling around, Musk says there is no discontent in his actions and reports that he is now more calm than ever, his voice sounding confident and calm. The council president can barely contain his anger, declaring that it shouldn't be this way and that the guy shouldn't live out the rest of his days humbly as a nameless hero. The president believes that the young man wants to use all his power alone against the Commonwealth. He breaks down in a rage, screaming loudly and ordering Musk to stop immediately, declaring that he doesn't dare leave like that. Musk stops and slowly turns to the council members, asking what else they want to tell him, his gaze full of determination. The man turns to Musk. He says that if the guy decided to give up the status of a special hero, he needs to follow all the rules. He adds, with undisguised anger, that the guy must get rid of all his power and demands complete submission and renunciation of opportunities. The man breaks down and screams loudly, ordering Musk to stop immediately and declaring that he doesn't dare leave like that. The guy behind the bar asks his friend what exactly the president means. His friend replies with a grin that he is clearly uneducated if he doesn't know such basic things. The young man explains with obvious gloating that the council president wants to completely get rid of Musk's power, depriving him of all his abilities. The bar's patrons don't understand how Musk can get rid of his power, and they discuss what rank the main character has. A man in the bar, who is clearly a hunter, tells those present that Musk was a warrior of the 13th rank, which is 4 levels higher than the president of the council. The hunter adds that other than Musk, no one is capable of going into the area above level 10, and doubts that anyone will be able to achieve the same level of skill and strength in the near future. The president rebukes the protagonist, stating that the reason for his high position is because the entire Commonwealth poured their resources and efforts into him. The man says that Musk has the right to renounce his titles, but cannot so easily control the destinies of the people of their community, reminding the guy of responsibility. A bright blue aura flares up around the young man, illuminating everything around him. He informs those present that he has made his decision and is not going to give it up. His voice sounds firm and decisive. The council president is clearly furious with the young man's decision, his face contorted with anger and his gaze full of indignation at Musk's decision. The people in the bar look on with bewilderment and alarm, their faces reflecting a mixture of surprise and concern at Musk's decision and words. The main character thinks, come what may, and with determination raises his hand, concentrating all his energy in it and preparing to cast a spell of renunciation of power. He pronounces the words of the ritual. Blue energy begins to glow brighter, enveloping his figure and spreading around. At the moment the ritual is completed, the energy around him explodes with a blinding light. Lightning spreads around his body. Powerful waves of power spread throughout the room, blinding everyone present. One of the senators, unable to hide his reaction, the man begins to scream, his face contorted in horror as Musk's energy begins to affect him. The energy emanating from the main character forms a powerful energy ball, which begins to grow and intensify. The impact of the force is so enormous that people have difficulty resisting its influence. Senators sitting at their tables try to hold on, but the force presses them to the surfaces, making them tremble with tension. One of the senators, unable to withstand the pressure, falls to the floor. His face is distorted with pain and fear. He screams in despair, unable to cope with the power of energy. The president of the council is trying with all his might to stay on his feet. He is surprised by the power that the main character stores within himself. The man realizes all its danger. Even though the president is a 9th-rank warrior, he must use all his strength to counter the surge of Musk's energy and deal with incredible pressure. The man looks at the protagonist and realizes that he will not be able to resist for long, and that the enormous force will ultimately force him to fall to his knees. Musk tells the shocked council members that he would gladly give back the power the Commonwealth gave him back, his words sounding like a challenge and a farewell at the same time. The energy concentrated around the main character explodes with bright light, creating a powerful energy vortex that surrounds him and rises up, illuminating everything around him. A whirlwind with incredible power breaks through the roof of the building, rushes into the sky and tears apart the clouds, demonstrating to everyone the indomitable power of a 13th-level warrior. Surprised passers-by on the street carefully observe the mysterious phenomenon. Their faces reflect a mixture of fear and admiration. They come to the conclusion that a new monster of the royal class has appeared. Energy continues to erupt from the building, creating powerful bolts of lightning that tear through the sky, illuminating the city with bright flashes of light. Not all the people in the council building were able to withstand the intense pressure of energy. One of the senators lies unconscious among the rubble and scattered papers. His face reflects the horror of the last moments. The main character stands at the epicenter of destruction. His raised hand holds the flow of energy that rushes upward, creating a destructive field around him. With the last of his strength, the council president tries to stand on his feet, his body trembling from the effort. But he is glad that he was able to hold on for 10 minutes before all his strength was exhausted. The president smiles gloatingly, realizing that Musk has now become a common man. And since he no longer possesses his former power, he no longer needs to be feared. Musk, standing in the center of the ruined hall, calmly lowers his hand. His gaze is cold and determined. The blue glow slowly fades away, leaving a slight trace of energy around his body. The guy turns around and slowly heads towards the front doors, leaving behind a barely noticeable energy trail. Musk, with a slight movement of his hand, removes the mask from his face and casually throws it to the side, as if this object no longer has any meaning for him. The council president's eyes become bloodshot. He shouts at the young man to get out immediately and believes that very soon the guy will come to an end. Suddenly, a dense red energy field flares up next to Musk, instantly absorbing him. The council president sees the young man instantly disappear into the energy field. He cannot believe that this is possible. In a deep cave, a portal of spatial movement is activated, inside which a giant blue funnel moves at great speed. A group of people slowly emerges from the opened portal. They discuss that they have entered a secret area of the 3rd level, where ordinary enemies of the 1st level and demons of the 2nd live. The squad leader informs the hunters that today is a great day to have fun and make money on valuable artifacts. One of the girls, clearly experiencing fear, seeks support from her friend, who immediately tries to calm her down and give her confidence. The hunter appeals to the squad leader with a request to stop talking and suggests immediately starting to kill monsters in order to earn money and complete his mission. The young hunters discuss today's trial of Musk. One of the guys expresses great disappointment that he cannot watch the live broadcast from the courthouse. The girl believes that they chose a good time for the outing, since most of the professionals are in court, which gave them the opportunity to go to a secret area. The commander of the hunter squad informs his subordinates that he has had enough of idle talk and orders everyone to immediately begin moving forward to complete the task. The man motivates his subordinates, convincing them that today they will quickly and efficiently cope with the task and clear this place of monsters. The spatial portal located in the cave suddenly comes to life and flashes with a bright blue light, attracting the attention of everyone present. The hunters instantly look back, interested in who else was planning to visit this cave at that moment. The girl looks in amazement at how the silhouette of a young man appears from the bright energy gate. Musk slowly emerges from a bright portal surrounded by blue energy waves, his appearance accompanied by powerful streams of energy, which makes a stunning impression on everyone. The hunters immediately begin to discuss the young man, greatly surprised that he went into the dungeon without any equipment. Musk looks at the cave with interest, realizing that he has already forgotten what the secret areas of the lower levels look like. The young man feels a sense of nostalgia as he remembers the last time he was here. It was the time when he had just woken up and become a professional. Musk recalls entering a secret area that had to be completed within a certain time, and ending up in a place where even the strongest people and monsters cannot survive. A virtual screen appears in front of the main character. The guy understands that after he lost all his powers and returned to the first level, the system decided to send him here. Musk thinks about what the choice he made earlier will lead to. The guy remembers that his past life proved that the so-called hero's path does not contribute to the salvation of humanity at all. The leader of the hunter squad greets Musk. He calls him a kid and asks if he wants to go through this dungeon. The man looks at the main character with surprise and asks where his ammunition and weapons are, expecting to see at least basic equipment. Musk tightly clenches his palm into a fist and extends his hand towards the hunter commander. The guy tells the man that this is his weapon. The man pats the young man on the shoulder in a friendly manner and says that he is glad to hear that the guy is a martial artist. He knows that masters save money on equipment by using their body as a weapon. The hunter commander wonders what level of combat skill the main character has. He believes that if the young man has the third level, then he will get a decent part of the team's reward. To the surprise of the hunter commander, Musk informs the man that he is level 1. This causes genuine bewilderment among everyone present, who cannot believe that someone with such a low level dared to go to such a dangerous place. The man looks Musk straight in the eyes and asks the young man if he is joking. The hunter commander considers the main character to be a rather strange person, since the guy appeared in a difficult cave while on the first level and asks Musk if he is tired of life. Musk casually throws aside the hunter commander's hand that was on his shoulder and tells the man that he came here to fight monsters. The hunter asks Musk to stop fooling around. The guy believes that with the first level it is impossible to even defeat a weak healer. The hunters advise Musk to stay near the portal and wait for them until they finish clearing the dungeon. The main character asks the hunters not to worry and promises that he will not get in their way. The hunter commander, despite his concerns, decides not to interfere, believing that if the young man really seeks his death, then he will not stop him, giving him the opportunity to make his own decisions and take responsibility for his actions. The man turns half a turn to the main character and warns him that if he encounters danger, he should not count on the help of a team of hunters, since everyone here is responsible for their own safety. The hunter commander orders his subordinates to begin moving forward. Musk carefully watches as the squad slowly but orderly heads deeper into the cave. One of the girls from the hunting party, turning around sharply, clearly notices something unusual and alarming that attracts her attention. The next moment, the girl concentrates a dense energy ball in her hands and, with incredible accuracy, throws a fiery fireball into the far corner of the cave. A loud explosion tears the huge spider apart. The cave room is illuminated with bright flames, and parts of the monster fly to the sides. One of the hunters informs the commander that he is ready to cover him, and, quickly drawing an arrow, draws the string of his bow, preparing for the next attack. A battle breaks out in the cave. A huge spider attacks the hunter using its powerful paws. The man deftly dodges and prepares to retaliate. A confident grin appears on the hunter commander's face, reflecting his confidence in his abilities in the face of danger. One of the hunters swings his spear with incredible strength, slicing through space and striking down monsters with a precision that inspires admiration. In a swift attack, the nearby hunter uses his sword skills to fend off the monsters, cutting them to pieces and showing off his unique fighting abilities. Musk stands in the shadows of the cave and carefully watches as his allies fight numerous monsters. He feels neither tension nor fear, remaining calm and confident in his abilities. The girl approaches Musk and, trying to console him, she asks the guy not to worry too much about the fact that their captain treated him rudely, trying to explain his motives. She justifies her captain's behavior by informing Musk that the man meant well, as newbies like him can easily make mistakes in secret areas that could cost them their lives. The young huntress changes her tone to a more serious one and tells the young man that if he is not attentive and careful, then inevitable death awaits him. Musk understands that compared to past times, today's professionals have become more advanced and cautious, realizing that all this experience was gained through pain and blood, which deserves deep respect. The girl notes the wisdom in the young man's words and informs Musk that, despite his youth, he speaks as experienced people from the Commonwealth command speak. Musk watches how the hunters deal with another group of spiders and understands that this is his merit, since he organized a policy of enhanced training of specialists, after which the mortality rate among hunters began to fall. The girl, feeling a little shy, tells Musk to excuse her since she forgot to introduce herself. The young huntress extends her hand and says that her name is Yang Jian and that she is a level 2 healer, to which Musk responds by giving his alias and shaking her hand. Musk informs Yang Jian that he is the owner of the first level and has not yet chosen a direction, which greatly surprises the girl. The main character looks thoughtfully into the distance and remembers that many areas, such as ranged combat, magic, and damage dealers, were created by him. Yang Jian tells the young man that judging by his physique, he is best suited to be a melee fighter. Yang Jian thinks that the guy needs to take the spirit test, because then he could become a spellcaster, and he wouldn't have to fight on the first line. The girl, embarrassed for her talkativeness, asks Musk for forgiveness for talking too much. Suddenly, a spider's paw flashes in the air, quickly cutting through the space and leaving a whistling sound behind it. Musk grabs the girl's hand and saves her from the spider's attack, demonstrating his determination and quick reaction. The spider misses and hits the rock with its paw. From a strong blow, the rock cracks, and small stones fly around with great speed, creating an additional threat. At the moment of danger, Musk hugs the girl, protecting her with his body from flying fragments. The guy shows his care and readiness for self-sacrifice. One of the hunters warns his team with a loud scream that an ugly shadow spider is approaching them. A shadow spider with bright violet eyes and poisonous drops flowing from its sharp limbs appears from the darkness of the cave. It quickly approaches the hunters, breaking strong stones with its sharp paws. Musk decisively grabs the spider's leg, showing his strength and preparing for the monster's next strike. Musk breaks the shadow spider's leg with a powerful movement, and a dark substance similar to blood begins to flow from the place of capture, which splashes around. The main character holds in his hands the severed part of the monster, from which a dark substance continues to flow. Yang Jian clings tightly to the guy. The girl looks scared. She realizes the danger of what is happening and cannot hide her fear of the formidable enemy. Musk uses the severed leg of a shadow spider as a weapon. The guy raises his paw to strike the monster, preparing to strike with a powerful blow and stop the enemy. The young man delivers a powerful and accurate blow to the shadow spider, cutting its body with a sharp piece of paw. The monster's blood splashes in all directions. The monster is severely wounded. It hisses loudly in pain and crawls to a safe distance, trying to escape from further attacks. The team of hunters, watching Musk's actions, are in a state of shock. The young people are amazed by his exceptional control over the body and high level of martial arts. One of the hunters, taking a step forward, remarks that although he has seen many professional craftsmen, even they are not able to demonstrate such skills. Musk believes that winning in battle requires not only an understanding of the monster's precise structure, but also complete control over his body, which he has acquired in the past while fighting higher-level monsters. Turning to the girl, Musk asks her to calm down and loosen his tight grip, assuring her that the danger has passed and she has nothing to fear anymore. Yang Jian understands the absurdity of the current situation. Musk, smiling, notices that the girl will soon strangle him with her strong grip. The girl, realizing this, lets go of the young man and, apologizing, covers her face with her hands, trying to remain calm and not succumb to hysteria. A virtual screen suddenly appears in front of Musk, informing him that defeating the shadow spider will award 500 experience points, which makes him think that the monster's previously chosen path has no effect on the leveling system. Musk realizes that the system allows him to not have to worry about gaining new levels, and he can also accumulate experience points for destroying various monsters. The main character realizes that with the help of this function, he will be able to quickly restore and develop his combat skills that he possessed in his previous life. At this moment, Musk hears the voice of the hunter squad leader, who admiringly tells him that he did an excellent job against the monsters in the secret area, and apologizes for being mistaken about his abilities. The squad leader, expressing gratitude, notes that Musk saved the girl. After completing the mission, he promises to share the reward with him, thereby demonstrating his respect and appreciation for his actions. Musk, smiling modestly, says that his action was just a friendly gesture, since he considers it quite normal to help others in secret areas. The hunter squad leader, slightly embarrassed, agrees with the guy, admitting that assistance in secret areas is really important and necessary for the successful completion of missions. The team of hunters continues to clear the cave, methodically eliminating all the monsters in their path. The commander delivers a powerful blow with his huge sword, cutting the next monster in half. Having destroyed the next wave of monsters, the hunters carefully examine the bodies of the dead monsters. The commander turns to his subordinates and reports that the main monster is waiting for them ahead. The man is preparing the team for the final battle. He adds that after the final battle, everyone will be able to return back to the real world and orders them to follow the original plan, according to which he diverts the main monster's attention to himself while the rest of the team attacks. Addressing the girl, the commander reminds her that their enemy is a spider. He asks her to be ready to use fire techniques to burn the web and deprive the monster of its main defense. One of the hunters is pleased with the progress of the mission. He says that today the team is moving very quickly. The guy hopes to catch the end of the court hearing when they return to the real world. The young hunter has a great desire to see what Musk looks like, since he was wearing a mask all the time and no one was able to see his real face. The girl tells those present that she used to support Musk and considered him the savior of humanity, but her opinion changed after he unexpectedly killed everyone in the city of Tugu. Yang Jian does not agree with the girl's opinion and says that this is not true, and such rumors should not be spread. She reveals that the city was attacked by an infected demon that was infecting people and turning them into monsters, and Musk had no choice but to destroy everyone to stop the spread of the infection. One of the hunters finds it strange that the girl supports Musk and assumes that she is his paid supporter. The squad leader, abruptly ending the conversation, orders the hunters to immediately end the discussion and concentrate on completing the mission. He looks at Musk and warns his subordinates not to put on a show for their new acquaintance, reminding them of the importance of the upcoming task. A squad of hunters begins to slowly move through the cave. The loud voice of the commander is heard, who offers to quickly deal with the main monster. Entering one of the caves, the hunters discover a huge amount of cobwebs, which confirms their guesses about the location of the lair of the main monster. The young hunter is eager to find out what is hidden inside the chest, which will be guarded by the main monster. Suddenly, strange sounds and grinding sounds are heard from the far corner of the cave. The commander, taking out his huge sword from behind his back, orders his subordinates to prepare for battle, realizing that the decisive moment is approaching. From the darkness of the cave, the main monster suddenly appears. A huge and terrifying spider with terrible fangs and burning eyes, it begins to approach the hunters at great speed. The commander, raising his huge sword to strike, decisively rushes into the attack, loudly shouting to his subordinates that he is diverting the attention of the main monster to himself. The commander is rapidly approaching the huge spider. The monster is trying to destroy the man with its massive paws, delivering powerful blows, which the commander barely manages to dodge. One of the hunters approaches the monster and stabs it with his spear, piercing one of the spider's many legs, hoping to weaken it before the final attack. The guy is trying to get closer to the monster's head, in order to deal a fatal blow and end it once and for all. Musk deftly dodges the blow of a huge spider, remembering that in low-level secret areas the monsters have practically no intelligence, which makes the task easier. Musk raises his hand to strike, realizing that in order to destroy the monster, he must correctly predict its further movement. The young man deftly dodges the monster's blows. He approaches the monster's body and inflicts a series of powerful blows on it, aiming at its most vulnerable places. An archer and a girl proficient in fire techniques are nearby and cover the fighters engaged in close combat. Powerful blows and fiery attacks cause bright flashes. The monster writhes in agony. Under the blows of the hunters, the spider is surrounded by flames that devour its flesh. The girl uses magical techniques to create a bright green protective aura around her commander to protect him from the spider's attacks. Under the pressure of the hunter's blows, a powerful explosion occurs. The spider is engulfed in flames, which quickly spreads throughout its body, destroying it from the inside and leaving only charred remains. The commander stands next to the defeated monster and, turning to the hunters, expresses his satisfaction. He is pleased that they acted together and were able to cope with the third-level dungeon without losses. The man informs the young hunters that he will distribute the final reward the same way as last time, ensuring that no one is left out. Musk begins to suspect something is wrong, noticing that the hunters are talking about the third-level dungeon, when the system clearly designated this area as the fourth level. The young hunter points out the strangeness of the situation, noting that the secret chest never appeared despite the destruction of the main monster. At this moment, the girl feels the movement of air from the depths of the cave and informs the hunters that something large is moving in their direction. This makes everyone wary. After some time, the hunters notice a strange silhouette approaching them, which, upon closer examination, turns out to resemble a young girl. The huntress is alarmed by the appearance of the girl approaching them. She tells her partners that there is something wrong with her head. The strange girl approaches even closer to the hunters, and the young people notice that she really has a strange helmet on her head. The commander of the hunting party carefully examines the uninvited guest and informs his subordinates that he can guess why the secret chest has not yet appeared. The body of the girl in the helmet begins to convulse violently. She makes strange, rather creepy sounds, making the hunters realize that she is the boss of this secret level. The young hunter, looking at the girl, declares that this boss is not so scary, believing that the defeated huge spider was a more terrifying enemy. The hunters notice that two bright red eyes flash inside the helmet, which makes the situation even more eerie and frightening. A strange girl with a helmet on her head begins to float in the air, her body writhing in unnatural poses, which frightens the hunters even more and makes them wary of an unknown threat. The girl in the helmet flies up sharply, her creepy, gnarled arms stretch forward, and her ominous appearance frightens the hunters. The hunter tightly grips his spear, preparing to attack, tensely watching the rapid movement of the girl in the helmet. His determination is evident in his every move, as he charges forward with the clear intention of stopping the enemy and protecting his team. A hunter standing nearby calls the young man an idiot and points out that the final monster can easily dodge a direct attack. The young hunter delivers a powerful blow with his spear, punching right through the final helmeted monster. The guy continues the attack, holding his spear and moving forward in order to complete the destruction of the monster and protect his team. The team of hunters watches closely as the young man destroys the final monster. The hunters are amazed by his determination. The guy turns to the young people and tells them that killing the final boss was quite easy. The young hunter intends to finish off the monster as quickly as possible and delivers a series of powerful blows with his spear, trying to end the fight. Suddenly, a huge amount of dense, sparkling web shoots out from the monster's wound. In a matter of seconds, the web knocks the weapon out of the young man's hands and tightly fetters his hands. The young man is unable to get rid of the web. All his efforts are in vain. The monster continues to generate more and more streams of sparkling sticky matter. Suddenly, a small plasma field flares up next to the young hunter, which begins to slowly move towards him, leading him to wild horror and increasing his despair. Young hunters, watching as their colleague was captured by the web, experience great anxiety and tension, realizing the seriousness of the situation. The hunter commander understands that it will be extremely difficult to get rid of such a thick and sticky web. He decides to seek help from a girl with magical powers and asks her to use the flame to free their partner. The girl concentrates her magical powers and releases a powerful and bright flame from her palm. Dazzling flashes of light illuminate the space around her as fiery streams rush towards the sticky web. Flashes of fire engulf the monster, illuminating its ominous appearance and turning the battlefield into a sea of raging fire. The monster desperately tries to escape from the fiery shackles, but its every movement only increases the power of the flames, which mercilessly consumes it. The hunter commander, realizing the danger of the situation, decisively orders his subordinates to take the captive hunter out of the fire as soon as possible in order to save him from imminent death. Young hunters, quickly reacting to the order, rush to help their partner, but are faced with an insurmountable obstacle in the form of a powerful flame that blocks their path. Each step forward is accompanied by unbearable heat and blinding flashes of fire, which make their attempts to approach the captive hunter almost impossible. With horror on his face, the hunter notices that the monster's girl begins to have 3 more pairs of legs, which makes her appearance even more terrifying and frightening. The monster, gaining additional limbs, looks even more threatening and unpredictable, which makes the hunter feel helpless and despair. The hunter commander, shocked by the sight of the main monster, admits that he has never encountered such a creature before. At this time, the captive hunter manages to free himself from the grip of the web, gathering his last strength, He screams loudly and tries to run away to a safe distance. However, the monster immediately reacts by throwing one of its new legs towards the fleeing youth. Suddenly, the running hunter stops. His eyes become bloodshot, and his face shows horror and despair. The guy looks at his broken chest from which the monster's leg sticks out. The hunters standing nearby watch in horror the death of their partner, realizing that they can no longer help him. Filled with a boundless sense of anger and despair, one of the guys snatches an arrow from his quiver, determined to shoot the monster to avenge his dead friend. Suddenly, the young hunter is grabbed by the hand by Musk. The guy tries to keep him from rash actions. Musk asks the hunter to calm down and not act rashly, warning that the guy's actions will only anger the monster, which will lead to a tragedy similar to the one that befell their partner. The commander fully agrees with Musk and supports his opinion, realizing that the team will be doomed if they give in to emotions and attack recklessly. He asks the girl how long it will take for the spatial portal to open. She replies that it will take 3 hours. The man, having weighed all the options, realizes that they have no choice but to fight. He informs the team that they will slowly make their way to the exit, and as soon as the portal opens, they will immediately leave this place. At this moment, the archer notices that the final monster has paid attention to them and begins to approach. The guy warns the commander about this. The monster approaches the hunters, emitting terrible screams, and a dense web begins to shoot out of its wound again. The monster generates a strong, glowing sticky net from the web and shoots it at the hunters, trying to hinder their movements and make it impossible to escape. The commander fails to dodge. The sticky substance binds his right hand. The man unsuccessfully tries to free himself from the grip, feeling the sticky threads digging into the skin more and more. The archer wastes no time trying to help his commander and shoots several arrows at the monster, hoping to break through his defenses. However, the final monster easily deflects the archer's arrows, continuing to generate more and more sticky web. The monster notices the archer and instantly shoots a dense bundle of web at him, which securely binds the young man, depriving him of the ability to move. The commander, realizing the seriousness of the situation, orders the guy not to give up and resist, and also asks the remaining team members to help free the young archer. The monster emits an eerie howl that echoes through the cave arches, enhancing the atmosphere of horror. The monster begins to attract a web that captivates the young archer. The young hunter slowly approaches the monster and sees not only a web appearing from a hole in its body, but also a disgusting mouth with ugly fangs. The young man is seized with wild horror. As he approaches the ugly monster, he screams loudly that he does not want to die this way. A heart-rending cry of a young hunter is heard, which is then replaced by a terrible chomping sound. This causes shock among the girls who cannot believe in the death of their comrade. The terrible fanged maw that emerged from the insides of the final monster continues to mercilessly consume the body of the young hunter. The monster gnaws the young man's head off and throws his lifeless body onto the ground next to him, demonstrating his ferocity and strength. The hunter commander's eyes become bloodshot. He clenches his teeth and can hardly restrain his anger and rage. The commander makes a sharp lunge forward, delivering a blow of colossal force with his huge sword. But the monster manages to dodge and jump back. The monster avoids a direct hit. The man does not give up and continues to furiously strike at the monster's legs, and is surprised to notice that the monster remains without a single scratch, despite the use of force and weapons of the 3rd level. The monster spits out another portion of the web, which fetters the commander's hand and tries to pull the man towards him. The commander fiercely resists, desperately trying to free himself from the sticky shackles. The monster pulls the man closer and closer to its terrible, disgusting mouth with hellish fangs. Less than a meter remains before it. The commander begins to strongly doubt the possibility of defeating the monster. The web digs deeper into his hand, causing unbearable pain and limiting his movements. At that moment, he hears a loud scream. The man turns around and sees that Musk is calling him. Musk tells the commander that the only way to survive in this situation is to cut off his hand, which is already captured by the web. The guy asks the commander to give him the sword if he really wants to save himself, offering to take a painful but necessary step for survival. The hunter commander realizes that he has no choice. He decisively turns to the main character, throwing him his huge combat blade. Musk deftly picks up the thrown weapon and, without wasting time, rushes forward, getting closer to the monster. The main character, having gathered all his strength, runs up, powerfully pushes off the ground and flies into the air, raising his sword behind his head to deliver the decisive blow. The next second, with a powerful and accurate blow, Musk cuts off the hand of the hunter commander captured by the monster, freeing him from the mortal threat. The hunter commander lets out a heart-rending scream. Blood sprays from the severed hand. Pain and shock distort the man's face. The vile monster swallows the severed hand of the hunter commander into its gut and emits a wild roar that echoes throughout the cave. The hunter commander leans on Musk, who supports him, helping him move on. They slowly move through the cave, trying to stay away from the monster and find a safe place. A girl with magical powers rushes to the commander. She uses her magic to heal the wound and stop the bleeding, trying to save the commander's life and give him the opportunity to continue the battle. The girl, unable to cope with the hysteria that gripped her, screams loudly and declares that she does not want to die in this terrible place. In panic, she turns around and runs with all her might, hoping to hide in the far corners of the labyrinths of the cave, believing that she will find salvation there. The second girl, despite what is happening, continues to treat the commander's wound with the help of energy fields, and asks Musk why he doesn't run away with her. Musk calmly explains that there is no hiding from the leader of the monsters. The monster deliberately allows its victims to escape, taking pleasure in their fear and despair. For the monster, a real delicacy is a person gripped by wild horror and trying to escape at any cost. The main character makes the assumption that this monster is the chosen one of the gods, who feeds on the negative emotions of ordinary people, and that is why he so willingly plays with their fears and pain. The girl realizes that this is new information for her. She's surprised that some monsters can feed on fears, jealousy, and other negative emotions of people. Musk continues the story, explaining that there are monsters who are chosen by the gods of the void, granting them terrifying speed and strength. He mentions that such monsters, among other things, acquire a strange appearance which often goes beyond human understanding. Looking closely at the monster, Musk believes that the system has a bad sense of humor, because it was when he lost all his power in the very first secret area that he came across the monster chosen by the gods. After some time, the main monster begins to twitch in strong convulsions. Its body begins to emit a huge amount of dark energy, filling the space around. The girl doctor carefully monitors the transformation of the monster, trying with all her might not to succumb to fear and control herself, despite the growing tension. The room begins to be enveloped in dense, dark energy. The girl healer concentrates the energy field in her hands and begins to cast a spell to repel poison, hoping to protect the team from the threat. The hunter girl, who is trying to escape, stops under the influence of fear, feeling that something is wrong, and watches in horror as the space around her is filled with a dark, viscous substance. A moment later, dark energy begins to penetrate her body, taking over not only her body, but also her mind, making her completely subject to the influence of the monster. The girl doctor, realizing the danger, loudly says that the monster does not emit poisonous gases, but energy that suppresses the spirit and will, turning people into helpless puppets. The main monster continues to transform. Its figure becomes even more terrifying and unnatural. Now it gains several additional legs, resembling a creepy spider. The monster suddenly turns its head to the side, clearly sensing something unusual at the periphery of its attention. Musk realizes that despite losing his previous powers, his spirit remains at level 14, allowing him to withstand the monster's influence. The young man turns towards the monster, his eyes bloodshot. He whispers that the final monster has a rather weak ability to suppress the spirit. A virtual system screen appears in front of Musk, informing him that his monster status has been activated and that he has acquired a new ability. The main character's body begins to transform, taking on a terrifying form. He declares to the monster that he has the great honor of witnessing his new birth. The main character completes the transformation into a monster. His body takes on a terrifying shape. His eyes glow with bright light, and streams of dark energies begin to generate around him. The final monster is preparing for battle, its many limbs tense, the dark energy swirling around it even more intensely, creating an eerie aura that fills the entire space around it. The body of the main character has acquired an ominous shape. His eyes sparkle with red light. Thick, dark energy swirls around him. The guy stands in full combat readiness, gathering all his strength for the decisive blow. With tremendous speed, the main character rushes at the spider-like monster. The next moment, a powerful explosion occurs, with a huge release of energy into the surrounding space. A huge blast wave throws the monster to the side and presses it against the wall, depriving it of balance and the ability to counterattack. The spider-like monster begins to frantically move its legs, trying to regroup as quickly as possible and take a more advantageous position for the next attack. The next second, a powerful blow cuts off one of his legs with such incredible speed that the monster does not even have time to react. The main character, in the form of a terrible monster, holds in his hands the severed paw of a spider-like monster and carefully examines it. The arachnid monster emits a terrible roar and chaotically waves its remaining limbs. Purple liquid flows like a fountain from the severed leg. Musk, in the form of a monster, throws the severed leg to the side and asks the enemy in a whisper what else he's capable of, provoking him to further actions. The spider-like monster resorts to its proven technique, releasing a colossal amount of strong, sticky spider threads from its insides. The threads fly forward with tremendous speed, illuminating the surrounding space with a bright purple light and destroying stones in their path. Musk skillfully dodges the threads flying at him, thinking that if the spider-like monster is only capable of these simple manipulations, then the gods who chose him clearly made a huge mistake. After some time, the guy changes his point of view, making the assumption that perhaps his standards are too high, because his opponent is only a level 4 monster. If the spider-like monster was a higher level, everything could be different. Continuing to be in the form of a monster, Musk tells his opponent that he should not even dream of survival. The main character runs up a vertical wall, pushes off with a powerful push, and rushes towards his opponent. A moment later, Musk unleashes a colossal number of fast and powerful strikes on the arachnid monster. The main monster of the dungeon makes terrible screams. The main character cuts off all his legs, leaving only one. Musk throws all the severed limbs into one pile and tells his opponent to hurry up before he has at least one leg left. The arachnid monster experiences terrible fear, turns around and tries to hide from the main character, jumping on one leg. With tremendous speed, Musk overtakes the fleeing monster, and a moment later his opponent loses his last leg. With a crash, the arachnid monster falls to the ground. The sound of its fall and its roar echoes throughout the cave, increasing the atmosphere of horror. The protagonist's opponent, despite the loss of all his limbs, does not lose hope of salvation and rows his hands along the ground with all his might, trying to crawl away and avoid death. The monster in the helmet, realizing that it has hit a barrier, raises its eyes and realizes that Musk is standing in front of it. Musk asks his opponent if he ever thought about being in the shoes of his victims when he was playing with people. The main character raises his huge clawed paw into the air and tells the enemy that it is time to die. A blow of enormous force hits the spider-like creature, tearing its body into pieces. The secret mission of the 4th level called the Female Spider's Nest was completed, and all survivors were automatically teleported out of the secret location. A girl doctor is moving along a busy city street. 2 hours have already passed since she teleported from the dungeon. She still has the feeling that it was just a dream. The group captain, who received the most injuries during the battle, was immediately sent to the hospital to provide emergency medical care and undergo the necessary procedures. The doctor's girl's thoughts are completely absorbed in memories of the main character, for whom she is very worried. She hopes that the guy managed to survive and avoid mortal danger. The girl turns onto the next street and is surprised to find that Musk is standing next to the store window, which causes a flood of new emotions and questions in her. After completing the mission, the system teleported Musk to the city of Doha. The guy begins to realize the need to find a place to stay for the night as soon as possible in order to relax after a stressful mission. A young man stops at a real estate agency, noticing with alarm that housing prices in this city are very high, and he will not be able to find a room cheaper than 3,000 yuan. Musk, immersed in memories of past times when such everyday issues were solved by other people, reflects on how he focused on fighting monsters and did not worry about money or housing. Lost in his thoughts, the young man realizes that he doesn't have a cent in his pocket. At that moment, Yang Jian notices him. The girl waves her hand at him with a friendly smile. The guy notices the girl and greets her, not calling her by name, but simply mentioning her as a healer from that ill-fated location, which causes Yang Jian obvious dissatisfaction. This attitude greatly hurts her, especially the fact that the young man did not bother to call her by name, but used an impersonal designation. The girl changes her intonation, declaring that her name is Yang Jian, and pronounces her name syllable by syllable so that the guy remembers. Despite this, Yang Jian does not hold a grudge against the young man and tells him with a smile that she is glad to see him alive and unharmed. Watching the main character look at a real estate information board, the girl quickly realizes that he is looking for a place to stay and obviously has no friends or relatives in this city. She realizes that the guy finds himself in a rather difficult life situation and most likely is experiencing financial difficulties. Yang Jian decides to tell the young man that this city was built only 40 years ago after the cataclysm. The girl continues her story, explaining that thanks to rapid urbanization, the central area of the old city, once abandoned and forgotten, has now turned into a thriving urban village. Young people stop near an inconspicuous but cozy building. The girl says that this is her house and invites the guy to enter. Yang Jian reassures the guy, saying that he does not need to worry about housing, since he will have his own room, and asks him not to worry about possible inconveniences or formalities. Musk, noticing a sign on the wall near the front door, asks the girl about its meaning. Yang Jian proudly explains that her father received this sign after his retirement. The girl's father was not only a soldier, but also a hero who rose to the rank of second-level professional. With enthusiasm, she says that her father fought side by side with Musk, which causes mixed feelings in the guy since he deliberately hides his real name, and the girl still does not realize that he is the same Musk. Yang Jian says that since childhood, her father has told her many stories and she is not sure whether they are true or fiction. Deep down, she is inclined to consider these stories to be fiction and drunken tales because her father began to abuse alcohol, and it is difficult for her to believe that the great Musk ever shared food and housing with her father. Musk, listening to her story, wonders where her father is now, lowering his eyes with sadness. Yang Jian replies that he is no longer there. She touches the coat of arms hanging on the wall and explains that the protracted war left painful wounds on her father. The external wounds were healed, but he spent too much vitality, and after he was removed from service, he died. The main character learns that the girl is an orphan, since her mother is also dead. This happened at the birth of her sister. Musk is immersed in heavy thoughts. His face reflects sadness, and sadness caused by the tragic stories of the girl. Yang Jian asks him not to make such a sad face, assuring him that this happened many years ago, and she has already come to terms with the loss. The girl opens the front door and invites the young man to come inside the house. They walk through the courtyard. Yang Jian explains that she will provide the guy with bedding, but he will have to buy his own underwear and pajamas. She invites the guy to take a room in the left wing, since it is free, and apologizes for the old renovation and furniture in the room. Musk, plunging into his memories, thinks about the harsh conditions in which he lived at the front, and realizes that in comparison with them, this place seems like a real paradise to him. Suddenly, the sound of a wheelchair is heard, and Sister Yang Jian comes out onto the porch, wondering who came to their house. Yang Jian explains to his sister that the young man is her partner with whom she passed through the secret location, and adds that he is in this city for the first time and has nowhere to stay, so he will live with them for a few days. The sister sarcastically remarks that the guy doesn't look like the Yang Jian team members and reproaches her for bringing home a man she just met. Yang Jian apologizes for her sister's behavior, explaining that she is generally a good person but becomes very irritable when she sees strangers, as she is a little afraid of them. She adds that today was the trial of Musk, whom her sister has idolized since childhood, which explains her irritated state. The main character thinks that he really has a lot of fans in different strata of society, which he had never even imagined before. Sister Yang Jian goes to her room. She drives a wheelchair to her desk, which has a large monitor on it. The girl reads the newsfeed and discussions on social networks regarding Musk. Many statements leave her in a state of severe irritation. The girl calls the haters fools and writes in messages that humanity has shifted all responsibility to Musk, instead of thanking him for helping him survive in dark times. There is a knock on the door. Yang Jian tells his sister that it is time for dinner, but the girl furiously continues to publish her posts and says that she is busy and does not want to eat. Yang Jian insists that the sister come down for dinner because they have a guest in the house. The sister reacts sharply to this, stating that she does not understand why she should be happy about the presence of a stranger. Yang Jian tells Musk that they will be having dinner together today and apologizes for the dinner being simple. Musk thanks the girl for dinner and says that the food is very tasty, despite its simplicity. The main character remembers his past life, when he had to eat monster meat without seasonings, side dishes, and other delights, and understands how tasty this dinner seems to him. Musk always believed that as long as he was able to fight the darkness for the sake of humanity, any food, even the most unappealing, would seem appetizing, because the main thing for him was service and survival. During dinner, there is an evening news broadcast which reports on the morning court hearing, where it became known about the mysterious disappearance of Musk. The TV show host asks the guest what he thinks about this, to which the guest replies that the government must be trusted, despite the numerous hypotheses appearing on the internet. A guest in the studio voices one version, according to which Musk's disappearance is connected with an escape from alleged crimes, and the agreement to renounce ranks and power was made only for the sake of show, to hide the true motives and avoid responsibility. Men come to the conclusion that this is just a hypothesis and rumors that should not be strongly believed and given great importance. The host notes that people's opinions vary greatly, The guest reports that Musk has put a lot of effort into the fight against monsters, and his personal abilities are truly incredible. The guest also believes that the disappearance of the main character will not have a serious impact on the peaceful life of citizens. He calls not to stir up excitement and not to be influenced by fantastic hypotheses. He emphasizes that one should never rely on the strength of one person, and that the main body of the country is the parliament, thanks to which humanity has achieved its brilliant victories. Young people silently listen to the speech of a TV show guest who claims that humanity will be able to solve complex problems without the participation of Musk. Yang Jian believes that the problem is much deeper than what was voiced by the guest on the TV show, and she is alarmed by the superficiality of such statements. She notices that the main character is silent all the time and asks him what he thinks about this. The guy believes that the position expressed on television is one-sided and has the only goal of accusing Musk of being a fugitive from justice for crimes committed. The girl is convinced that there is a lot they don't know, and Musk must have good reasons for such behavior. Yang Jian begins to get annoyed by the young man's indifference when it comes to her idol. She reveals that her sister is an ardent fan of Musk. If she had seen this program, she would probably have broken the TV in a fit of anger and despair, unable to bear the unfair accusations. Young people hear loud screams and insults coming from the front door. Yang Jian tells the young man that people from an investment company have come to see them. Company representatives continue to bang hard on the door, shouting insults and threatening to burn the house down. Yang Jin abruptly gets up from the table and confidently walks towards the front door. The girl is ready to confront the uninvited guests. She opens the door and sees a group of men on the threshold who declare that she was very difficult to find, and they have a serious reason to talk. The girl calmly replies that she has long since made it clear to them that she is not going to sell her house, despite all their attempts to put pressure on her. The man tells the girl that she does not fully understand the complexity of this situation, hinting at the possible consequences of her stubbornness. He informs the surprised young Jian that he knows about the disbandment of her team, seriously wounded and dead, and even that the life of the captain is still in question. The man asks the girl to think carefully and hopes that she will change her decision in the near future. Company representatives tell Yang Jian that they are giving her 5 more days to think about it and threaten that if she does not agree to cooperate, they will take more drastic measures. The man advises the girl to choose the right option and promises that in this case she will receive $100,000 for her land. Yang Jian is outraged by the offer and says that last week company representatives talked about $3 million, and she wonders why the price has dropped so sharply. The man calmly replies that the real estate market is in constant flux, and if yesterday the price was $3 million and today it is $100,000, this is absolutely normal. A company representative tries to put pressure on the girl, reminding her that she must have at least $30,000 in her bank account, which is exactly the amount needed to maintain the health of her sister. The company representatives notice that the girl is not alone and see Musk approaching them, wondering who this young man is. A man brazenly enters the house and sarcastically says that he didn't know that Yang Jian prefers younger guys. He extends his hand to the protagonist and, with a fake friendly smile, declares that he is the head of security at an investment company. Musk extends his hand to the company representative for a handshake, trying to hide his dissatisfaction and tension. The main character touches the hand of a company representative. Tension and a hidden threat are felt in this gesture. Yang Jian reacts sharply to this. The girl asks the main character to be careful and warns him that the man is a magician who specializes in mental attacks. She makes it clear that the man's intentions may not be benevolent. The man holding out his hand suddenly reveals his true nature as his eyes begin to glow an ominous red light, emitting menace. Musk and the company representative shake hands, at which point an ominous aura begins to flare up around the man, emitting a red glow that clearly indicates his mental abilities and potential danger. Musk, despite the ominous aura emitted by the man, maintains a straight face, showing that he is immune to mental attacks and is ready to face any threat. Musk's eyes begin to glow a bright pink light. The guy activates his own hidden abilities, preparing to counter the enemy's attack. The man intends to penetrate the subconscious of the protagonist as soon as possible and destroy his mind. He is confident in his superiority and does not expect resistance. The company representative smiles evilly. He decides to give Musk a slight concussion so that he will lie unconscious for half a month, which, in his opinion, will be sufficient punishment. The man begins to feel something is wrong, because according to his calculations he should have already penetrated the young man's subconscious, but instead he finds himself in an unknown location, which confuses him. A company representative stands on a huge, endless expanse of water. He is amazed at how unusual and majestic the protagonist's subconscious looks. He is sincerely surprised and does not understand how a young man can have such an amount of mental power that clearly exceeds his own abilities. The man pushes off with all his strength from the endless surface of the water, deciding that he needs to get out of here as soon as possible. Suddenly, he stops abruptly, noticing something fascinating in the distance, and realizes that he has encountered an insurmountable obstacle. He watches in amazement as a huge shaft of water, tens of meters high, approaches him at rapid speed, threatening to swallow him whole and destroy his consciousness forever. A huge wave with incredible force carries the company representative to the bottom, where the pressure becomes so intense that it completely fetters his muscles, making it impossible to move and resist. The company representative is trying with all his might to control his irritation and anger, realizing that Musk is on a completely different level of mental strength. With horror in his eyes, the man watches as he is slowly absorbed by the powerful mental forces of the protagonist, depriving him of the ability to resist and get out. In the depths of the abyss, two huge bright bloody eyes flash. The man feels a monster of incredible power approaching him, ready to completely destroy his consciousness. Panicked, the man realizes that he is unable to resist such a powerful attack. His face distorts in a grimace of horror. He screams and tries to escape from this nightmare. The man returns to reality. His face is still distorted with horror. His friend, who noticed something was wrong, tries to bring him to his senses. He grabbed him by the shoulders and tries to understand what happened, because the man looks scared and stunned. Yang Jian doesn't understand what's going on and assumes that the company representative realized that his attacks weren't working and decided to blackmail them in a similar way. One of the company representatives realizes that this is the work of Musk. He raises his hand to strike and asks the young man what happened to their comrade. His partner abruptly grabs him by the arm and demands to stop immediately, seeing a much greater threat in the situation. The man asks his partner to turn on his head and try to think, hinting that Musk is much stronger than they could imagine. He emphasizes that Musk poses a real threat to them, which they simply cannot cope with at the moment. The company representative pulls himself together and thanks his partner. He believes that Musk is a third-level warrior. The man is still trying to revive the company representative, who is unconscious after a mental dive. He picks up his comrade, turns around, and in an angry tone tells the young man that if he ever tries to harm the people of the company again, he will definitely not get away with it. Yang Jian is very surprised and asks Musk how he managed to defeat the powerful magician. Musk tells the girl that he is not a supporter of interfering in other people's squabbles. But this guy persistently tried to penetrate his consciousness, and he could not allow this to happen. Musk asks the girl how long the corporate guys have been harassing her. Yang Jian reveals that she has been harassed for about 4 years since her father died. The girl says that these people constantly tried to break into their house and often took advantage of her absence, intimidating her sister, who suffered greatly. Yang Jian reports that 2 years ago, a change took place in her life. She became a second-level professional and joined the team of Captain Song, who always protected her from the people of the corporation. Yang Jian considers the people from the corporation to be vile and terrible, since they came to her as soon as they learned about her captain's poor condition. Musk asks the girl if she has contacted the government. He says that he knows that soldiers like her father should be shown respect and help in every possible way. The girl replies that if it worked, and the so-called respect really existed, then such people would not come to her house. Yang Jian says it is more profitable for the state to side with those who bring it income, such as an investment company, rather than fight for the rights of the weak. Musk is very upset because in the past he was one of the people who promoted the policy of special treatment for military families. The young people wash the dishes. The girl tells the guy that he doesn't have to do this. Musk replies that he should do everything possible to show his gratitude because he lives in Yang Jian's house and eats her food, so he thinks it's right to help at least wash the dishes. Yang Jian believes that the guy has already been a great help to her, because if he had not forced the corporation people to leave, she would not have known what to do. The girl asks the main character what he plans to do next, suggesting that he wants to join other teams to clear out secret areas. Musk asks about the girl's plans, to which Yang Jian replies that she hopes for Captain Song's speedy recovery. But if this does not happen, then she will have no choice but to look for another team that she can rely on. Musk hears the voice of a girl who says that teams constantly compete with each other, and unfortunately, very often terrible things happen within groups, such as betrayal and deception. Yang Jian tells the young man that if she finds a good team, she will definitely recommend him. Musk thanks the girl, realizing that since he became a monster, he will never be able to work in a team with people. The young man understands that no man will fight side by side with the monster, either now or in the future. A virtual screen appears in front of Musk, informing him of a new mission. He must clear the secret area of the 4th level alone. In a deserted Gothic temple, bright lightning bolts of energy begin to flash, filling the space with blue flashes of light, and a strong wind rises, driving leaves and debris across the floor. Gradually, thin lightning bolts expand, and a bright spatial portal opens inside the room, emitting a blue glow and shimmering with waves of energy. Musk confidently emerges from the portal with his head held high, immersed in the bright flashes of light that illuminate his path. The guy understands that thanks to the portal built into the system, he was able to avoid punishment from Parliament and immediately found himself in the secret kingdom. Musk leisurely strolls through the deserted Gothic monastery, stylized as medieval Europe, admiring its majestic architecture. His attention is drawn to the huge stone statues. The guy stops near the statues of creatures known as gargoyles and looks at them carefully, sensing a hidden threat in them. Musk cannot take his eyes off the statues, clearly feeling that something is wrong with them. He feels that these stone giants are fraught with danger or a mystery that remains to be solved. One of the stone statues suddenly comes to life. Musk sees its eyes begin to glow with an ominous red light. The gargoyle slowly turns its head in his direction. Gargoyles in their normal state look like ordinary sculptures, but as soon as a living organism is nearby, their true essence appears. Musk knows that monsters like gargoyles have thick skin and rough flesh, and are immune to natural magic, making them incredibly difficult opponents. The main character reflects that if the Yangjian squad had encountered these creatures, they would have suffered very heavy losses, because fighting such creatures requires special skills. The gargoyle suddenly rushes at Musk, releasing its claws and opening its mouth in a threatening grimace. Its red eyes glowing with anger, the guy instantly reacts to the attack, his muscles tense. He prepares to repel the attack. The main character transforms into a monster. His face and body acquire frightening features. The guy prepares for a fight with a gargoyle. Musk completely transforms into a monster. His body is covered with terrifying spikes. He rushes at the gargoyle with incredible speed and tears it apart. In a matter of seconds, the main character in the form of a monster deals with powerful creatures, tearing them apart. Musk goes out into the middle of the cathedral. The room is filled with dense, thick fog. The fog gradually dissipates. The young man notices that a dozen gargoyles are hiding behind him, surrounding him on all sides. Musk's eyes flash bloody red fire. The guy advises the monsters to attack all together, since only in this case they will have a minimal chance of winning. The gargoyles spread their wings, fly up to the very dome of the temple, and begin to slowly circle above the young man. Musk drops to one knee, concentrating all his strength before launching an attack. A huge explosion occurs, accompanied by a strong release of energy. Musk jumps into the air with great speed. Delivering lightning-fast blows of monstrous force, the main character kills the gargoyles floating in the air one by one, demonstrating his superiority and power. Musk's blows are so strong that they tear the monsters apart. The remains of the monsters scatter throughout the temple. Not a single monster can dodge the main character's slashing blows. Their colossal strength cuts them into pieces, leaving not a single chance of salvation. Musk approaches the largest monster and grabs it by the chest. The gargoyle, in horror, lets out an eerie, piercing scream. A moment later, there is dead silence in the Gothic temple. The entire floor is strewn with fragments of stones that were once gargoyles. Musk senses that a monster that survived the battle is hiding behind one of the massive columns. The main character creeps up to the monster and grabs it by the wings, asking why the monster was scared, because gargoyles have no feelings. The next moment, Musk tears the huge monster apart, demonstrating his incredible strength. The main character, in the form of a monster, feels strong fluctuations in energy fields, which indicate the presence of a powerful enemy. The young man's feelings do not deceive him. After a moment, the leader appears next to him, who is the strongest gargoyle of the 4th level. Musk is very surprised by the appearance of the enemy. He is a monster, but at the same time he looks like an ordinary person and even has a human body. The leader of the gargoyles is very different from ordinary monsters. The creator clearly put a lot of effort into this creature, which is noticeable even in its appearance. The main character, transformed into a monster, and the leader of the 4th level gargoyles rush at each other with incredible speed. Musk rushes forward, his claws sparkling in the air and leaving behind dark energy trails. There is a loud banging sound and the stranger opens the temple doors by kicking them. A moment later, a group of young hunters quickly bursts into the Gothic temple. They immediately notice signs of a recent battle. as the entire floor of the temple is littered with shards and broken pieces of gargoyle statues. The hunters make the assumption that they are not the first to enter here. Although, according to the map, this secret kingdom appeared no more than 12 hours ago. The squad leader also finds this strange because people from the bureau assured him that the place was sealed before they arrived. The girl informs her commander that someone incredibly strong had already been here before them, who was able to easily deal with dangerous creatures. She asks the commander to pay attention to the huge broken statues, emphasizing that only a creature with incredible physical strength could do this. The girl reports that this uneven pattern of damage remains after a melee professional uses a blunt weapon. The huntress adds that she has never seen gargoyles torn apart like rags before. The hunter commander is very surprised by the fact that the monsters were not cut into pieces, but rather torn apart, leaving a lot of stone fragments. The young hunter notices something unusual in the corner of the cathedral and immediately asks everyone present to pay attention to it. The guy points to the huge leader of the gargoyles, who was nailed with a spear to a column at the very roof of the temple, which causes genuine surprise among the hunters. The mighty gargoyle leader's body is pierced by a massive spear that pinned him to a pillar, his muscular figure and rugged appearance giving him the appearance of a warrior who fought to his last breath. The Secret Areas Control Bureau is located in the elite business center of the city of Daha and is hidden from prying eyes. The man curses loudly, claiming that there has been a big mistake and asks why there are still no results. The boss tells his subordinates that 7 teams have already reported that upon entering the sealed dungeon, they discovered that it had been cleared by someone before their arrival. The subordinate reports that it is likely that some team or individual escaped the Bureau's monitoring and entered the secret area without registering. The man declares that he will not allow anyone, even the most daring or experienced, to enter the dungeon, violating the established instructions and safety rules. The man believes that there is no serious danger if an unregistered user enters the dungeon and simply destroys the monster, but he is seriously concerned that such actions could pose a threat to other units. The head of the Bureau warns his subordinates that the most common cause of death when entering dungeons is not the attack of monsters, but the uncoordinated actions of people, which often lead to the death of their own comrades. The man is deeply worried. He is convinced that people should not lose their lives because of meaningless internal conflicts and misunderstandings. The head of the Bureau, with a serious look, studies the report, which states that a secret dungeon on the 4th level was cleared, where a significant number of gargoyles were destroyed. The girl, analyzing the circumstances, concludes that the perpetrator is most likely one person and not a group, since there are no traces of weapons on the bodies of the killed monsters that could have been inflicted by different people. The head of the Bureau is confident that they will soon be able to detect the intruder, as he will try to sell the artifacts obtained in the dungeon on the market. The man gives a stern order to his subordinates, demanding that the Bureau employees begin to carefully monitor all the professional markets, both in the city and in its environs, to find out if anyone has recently been selling trophies from secret cleared areas. The city market, where transactions between professionals are usually carried out, is located in the working-class suburbs of the city, where life is constantly in full swing. The seller, with a business-like appearance, hands the young man the money, reminding him of the need to carefully count it, and invites him to contact him again if he finds something valuable. Musk, counting a hefty wad of money, realizes with annoyance that he has again sold a valuable artifact at too low a price, without assessing its true value. Suddenly, a virtual screen appears in front of the main character, which informs about a new task, the essence of which is to go through the gallery of night inhabitants. At this moment, Musk hears lively negotiations coming from nearby, and, having listened, he is surprised to realize that the voice conducting the bargaining seems very familiar to him. The main character notices how Yang Jian offers the seller to buy a sword from her, while she assures that although the sword looks old, it has killed countless monsters. The seller, critically examining the weapon, states that he is not willing to pay much for this sword, since its appearance leaves much to be desired. The blade is covered with numerous cracks, and he fears that after several uses the sword will easily break in half. Hearing the seller's voice, Yang Jian remembers that her father's blade was nicknamed Metallo, which brings back painful memories for her. The seller announces his final offer, a price of 3,500, which causes great disappointment in the girl, since she expected to get much more for the sword. Despite her affection for her father's sword, Yang Jian is still forced to consider selling it as she needs money for medical expenses for her sister's treatment. The seller, realizing that the girl does not understand the true value of the weapon, intends to get it at an extremely low price. The man knows that the materials from which the sword is forged can only be found in very rare secret areas, which makes it especially valuable. The seller begins to rush Yang Jian, warning her that his offer will not be relevant for long, and he may soon change his mind. At this moment, the voice of the main character is heard, stopping Yang Jian and asking her not to sell the sword to the merchant. The girl asks the young man what he is doing here, to which the guy replies that he will explain it later. The system tells Musk that the sword belongs to a class of special equipment and has level 5 magical power. Musk tells the girl that he wants to buy this blade and is ready to pay a decent price for it. The seller is outraged. He declares that he has already agreed with the girl, and such interference in other people's transactions is unacceptable. Musk, not paying attention to the words of the seller, hands the girl a large wad of money, showing that he is ready to immediately conclude a deal on favorable terms for her. The seller is very upset. He was hoping to extract the magic metal from the old sword and earn tens of thousands from it. Yang Jian sits on a bench, pleased that she has received money, which is now enough to treat her sister. Musk sits next to her, holding his new sword and understanding her difficult situation. Yang Jian hands the money to the young man, saying that 2,000 is enough for her. Musk refuses to accept the money and insists that the girl keep it, noting that the sword is very valuable, and also reminding that he lives at her house and she has expenses for food. The main character carefully examines the old blade in his hands, amazed that the girl does not realize the true value of the sword, which is clearly not as simple as it seems at first glance. Yang Jian is surprised because she never thought that the sword she had kept since childhood could be as mysterious as Musk itself. The girl tells the guy that she will not ask him about his secrets, although she is very interested in how he managed to earn a large amount of money so quickly. Yang Jian asks Musk to carefully handle her father's sword, because this is the only thing that he and his sister have left from their father. Musk learns from the girl that the sword is called Soaring Raven. The guy believes that this name is ideal for a weapon, since the sword is free to move and hidden in the dark, like a raven. Yang Jian says that a disaster occurred in the city when a level 10 monster escaped from a secret laboratory, causing enormous destruction. Neither the city's army nor professional warriors could resist this monster, which instantly destroyed everyone in its path. She mentions that her father took part in the battle with this monster and, thanks to his sword, managed to protect them from the monster with great difficulty. The girl explains that the great demon's most deadly attack was its radiation, from which people who fell under its influence turned into puddles of blood and flesh. Her sister was on the border of this radiation, and it damaged her legs. Yang Jian says that her sister had outstanding talent with a sword and was able to kill an adult with her training wooden sword already in elementary school. The girl is very upset that due to the wound received from the monster, her sister is forced to undergo constant treatment from top-level professionals. Otherwise, the radiation will spread throughout her body, and ultimately she may die. Musk recalls that this great demon was destroyed with one powerful blow, but before the rescue team arrived, the monster rampaged for about 10 hours, causing enormous destruction. The young man has a deep hatred for monsters because even the weakest of them can radically change the fate of ordinary people. Musk remembers that during the incident with the Great Demon, he agreed with the government to pay compensation to all victims and asks the girl why they did not receive compensation for the damage. The girl, surprised by this question, says that this is the first time she has heard about such compensation. She wipes the tears from her eyes and thanks the guy for listening to her. Yang Jian offers the young man lunch and, with a smile on his face, promises to show him the true level of culinary skill. The young people leave the small park where they were. Musk notices strange people patrolling the area near the market. These people turn out to be bureau employees who just passed by Musk, not realizing that it was him they were looking for. The bureau employee expresses hope that in the near future they will finally find the offender, which he shares with his partner. The control bureau employees silently look into the distance, convinced that no one has the right to break the laws. At this time, Sister Yang Jian pours herself a glass of water, trying to calm down after a long argument on the forum, where she proved that she was right. The girl hears a loud knock on the front door and begins to wonder who it could be. She is overcome with horror when she realizes that representatives of an investment company have come to her. The knocking on the door gets louder. The girl, looking at her training wooden sword, makes a decision. Armed with this sword, Sister Yang Jian rides up to the door, intending to use the training weapon to confront the company representatives. Company representatives knock down the front door and burst into the premises. Their appearance and behavior clearly indicate aggression and readiness for decisive action. One of the men, carefully examining the room, notices the girl and tells his accomplices that he knew about her presence in the house. The girl picks up a wooden sword, she is ready to defend herself, the man begins to mock her, insulting and humiliating her. Sister Yang Jian is furious when she hears the man calling her defective as she tries to stop them with a wooden sword. She angrily calls the company representatives freaks and raises her wooden sword to strike. The man easily jumps back, avoiding the blow, and mockingly praises her, noting that the force of the blow was not bad. Sister Yang Jian was unable to correctly calculate the force of the blow. The girl loses her balance and falls out of the wheelchair onto the floor. In a fit of rage, she curses the company representatives and tries to crawl towards her wooden training sword. The man, seeing that the girl is helpless and does not pose a threat, continues to insult and mock her. The leader of the group orders his subordinates to search the house and find the young man who dared to challenge their company. Representatives of the company aggressively destroy furniture around them, turning the situation into chaos and demonstrating their strength and cruelty. The militants report to their commander that they searched all the rooms but found no one. A company representative tells his accomplices that they have a hostage with whom they can blackmail young people. The subordinates object to their leader, reminding him that such actions are kidnapping, and if this becomes known, the consequences can be serious. The leader, not paying attention to their words, informs one of his subordinates that he has a special assignment for him. The man hands his subordinate the car keys and orders him to wait for the young people. He reports that inside the car there are many gifts in the form of bags of garbage collected from around the area. Representatives of the company rejoice with delight and gloating at the insidious plan of their leader. It begins to rain heavily. Yang Jian tells the young man that they need to return home as quickly as possible to avoid getting caught in the downpour. Approaching her house, Yang Jian suddenly stops, her face expressing deep surprise and concern. Yang Jian sees her sister lying on the ground with a wooden sword in her hands. Next to an overturned wheelchair, she is overcome with horror and concern for her sister. The sister tightly clutches the wooden training sword in her hands, cursing the company representatives who invaded their home. Yang Jian, overcome with fear, screams loudly and instantly rushes towards her sister. She lifts her sister from the ground, trying to put her back in the wheelchair. She says that while they were away, representatives of the company burst into the house. Trying to remain calm, Yang Jian consoles his sister, reassuring her that everything will be okay. Musk carefully takes his sister inside the house. Yang Jian heads to the broken doors to somehow close them. Musk's face expresses alarm and concern as he realizes that the situation is out of control and requires immediate action. Suddenly, a huge truck drives into the courtyard of the house and unloads a pile of garbage right in front of Yang Jian. The representative of the investment company mocks the girl in a sarcastic tone, apologizing and claiming that he himself does not understand how it happened that garbage was dumped here. He adds that this is just the first gift from their company, and there will be many more similar surprises in the future. The sister, concerned for Yang Jian's safety, begs her to immediately move away from the truck. The girl tries to drive up to her sister in her wheelchair, but the main character resolutely prevents her from doing this. Musk holds his sister's stroller and doesn't allow her to get closer, saying that interfering with the situation now will only make things worse. Yang Jian silently passes by the young people. They realize how heavy her soul is and what strong negative emotions she is experiencing at this moment. The sister turns to Musk with the question of why everything is happening and why the world is so unfair to them. Her voice is full of despair. The girl screams loudly, claiming that there is no justice at all in this world. Musk reflects on the fact that the world is truly cruel and, unfortunately, is not always fair to those who deserve it. The sister does not understand why the great people of this world do not strive to create a fair and just order. Musk, with bitterness in his voice, tells her that she lives in a world of her illusions, and reality is far from her ideas. The main character silently looks at the pouring rain, thinking that it pours on both good people and dishonest people, without making any distinction. Musk reflects on the injustice of the world. The guy is unable to restrain his emotions. He squeezes the wooden sword so hard that it shatters into pieces. The sister cannot contain her feelings. She falls into hysterics and cries loudly, feeling how unfair fate is to them. Musk understands that he is usually not interested in the problems of strangers, but in this case, he experiences a strong feeling of pity and sympathy. The main character slowly walks away. His sister asks him what he is going to do and where he is going. The girl hears Musk's voice, which says that he is going to deal with the offenders. His sister tries to dissuade him, warning him that this will lead to big problems, and if he opposes a powerful company, he may die. Musk slowly takes his combat blade out of its sheath and thinks that he always liked to get rid of boredom with radical methods. The investment company is located in a huge high-rise building in the city center. Musk approaches the entrance to the building and notices two people animatedly discussing the prospects for the development of their company. The main character slowly looks up at the upper floors of the building. The guy believes that today, he will make this world a little more fair. A young man enters the first floor of a huge skyscraper, immediately attracting the attention of the security guards below. People look in surprise at Musk standing at the entrance with a battle sword in his hands. Representatives of the company recognize him. They are amazed that the guy was not afraid and came to make a scandal at their main office. The guards approach Musk and rudely order him to put his weapon away immediately, unaware of who they are dealing with and what consequences await them. Musk strikes with his sword at incredible speed, so fast that those around him do not even have time to understand what happened. Continuing to move forward, the guy hears heart-rending screams behind him. All that remains of the two guards is a pile of chopped flesh. At this moment, the virtual system notifies the main character about a new task called the Bloody Demon Sword. An alarm signal is received at the security posts, and guards armed with combat swords begin to descend to the first floor. A group of guards surrounds the young man and prepares for a decisive battle. The squad leader warns his subordinates to be careful, as Musk is clearly hostile and has a high combat level. 4 guards surround Musk, carefully waiting for the right moment to launch an attack. One of the guards, armed with a sword, quickly rushes to attack Musk, deciding to strike first and try to neutralize the threat. Musk fends off the guards' attacks with incredible speed, surprising the company representatives, who clearly did not expect the guy to be such a serious opponent. In the blink of an eye, the main character destroys several opponents. The guy moves along the corridor, leaving behind only the corpses of his enemies. Musk continues to confidently move forward, sword in hand, as one of the remaining guards watches him with trembling, realizing that the situation is becoming increasingly dangerous. Musk's face expresses determination and rage. He is determined to go to the end and not leave his opponents a single chance of salvation. Musk mercilessly deals a fatal blow to the guard. Blood splashes to the sides. Horror is reflected on the enemy's face. Musk continues his merciless attack, striking with such speed and force that his opponents have no time to realize what is happening until they fall dead. The guards notice that the protagonist's sword is stuck in the body of one of the destroyed guards. They see this as an excellent opportunity for a counterattack. Without wasting a second, one of the guards raises his sword to strike and approaches Musk with great speed. Musk realizes that he will not have time to pull the sword out of the enemy's corpse, so he strikes the attacking guard with his hand. The guard's face is distorted with horror and pain. He realizes that Musk's blow was fatal. Having dealt with the next group of guards, the main character moves to the upper floors of the building. The corporation's employees scatter in horror in different directions, trying to hide from the impending threat. In one of the offices, a man smugly boasts to his friends that he will soon take over the house of 2 sisters and earn a huge amount of money from it. His companion agrees with him, noting that land in this area is very expensive, and this deal promises to be very profitable. Suddenly, a frightened young man bursts into the room, reporting the trouble that just happened. The men, not understanding what is happening, demand an explanation, asking what caused such panic. The guy reports that there is a man in the building who carried out a real massacre in the main hall and killed a large number of guards. The man cannot understand who organized this attack, because the people of his company always carefully check their targets and never touch powerful professionals or people in power. He invites the men in the office to go out into the corridor and figure out what is happening themselves in order to understand what kind of threat hangs over their company. A group of men enters the corridor. One of the representatives of the company is holding a huge battle axe in his hands. They see a man standing on the landing with his hands up, begging the stranger not to kill him. A moment later, they watch in horror as the main character destroys the man with incredible speed with one blow of his sword. The company representatives watch in shock as Musk slowly climbs the stairs, inexorably approaching them. The men look shocked and worried, realizing that the situation is getting out of control and they may be in serious danger. The man is unhappy that his employees are afraid. He reminds them that they are 4th-level professionals, and together it will not be difficult for them to defeat Musk. One of the men uses his magical skills and creates bright blue crystals in his hands. Another company representative raises his huge battle axe, which immediately erupts in a bright fiery aura. The company representative still does not understand why the main character decided to become an enemy of their corporation. The subordinate asks the security chief to be careful, reporting that Musk has already killed a significant number of guards. Musk realizes that fighting 3 level 4 professionals will be extremely difficult, and he will have to make every effort to maintain his human form and cope with them. Suddenly, Musk slams the hilt of his sword onto a switch, plunging the corridor into darkness and catching his opponents by surprise. The men realize that the main character turned off the lights in order to make a surprise attack in the dark, and begin to suspect that he may be a stalker, who becomes stronger in such conditions. One of them pulls out 2 pistols and activates his Twilight Vision skill, assuring his comrades that he is invincible in the dark. However, the next moment he sees Musk in front of him in the form of a monster, which puts him in a state of shock. Musk instantly disappears from the man's sight, and he decides that it was just an obsession or hallucination. The security chief hears his partners scream and smells blood in the air, calling his name loudly. At this time, Musk approaches the next representative of the company and raises his sword to strike. The man manages to react in time, blocking the sword attack using the handle of his huge axe. The security chief realizes that if he does not act quickly, he may die from this sword. One of the men uses his ice arrow technique and fires a huge crystal towards the protagonist, hoping to deliver a decisive blow. Musk creates a powerful protective field around itself that stops the ice crystal and prevents it from causing serious damage. Musk delivers a powerful blow, breaking a huge ice crystal into many fragments that fly in different directions. Musk's eyes glow bright red, reflecting his incredible strength and fury. The guy is ready to destroy his enemies without the slightest hesitation. The head of the security service hears a strange sound in the dark. He realizes with horror that it was the severed head of his comrade. The next moment, Musk makes a sharp blow with his sword to his neck, instantly cutting off his head. The man's body falls to the floor. The main character in the guise of a monster slowly passes by, leaving a bright energy trail behind him. The remaining guards, clutching their swords in their hands, watch in horror what is happening, realizing that their chances of survival are decreasing with every second. One of the guards watches in horror as Musk in his demonic form slowly approaches him. He realizes that he has no way to resist this power. Musk's eyes glow with a bright red light, striking fear into the hearts of his enemies, who understand that what stands before them is not just a person, but something much more dangerous. The main character notices a man coming down the stairs from the top floor. The man holds a sword in his hands and behaves confidently and calmly. Looking carefully at the monster, he realizes that the enemy does not have the usual aura of madness, which worries him. He comes to the conclusion that his opponent is a high-level professional with a modified system. The man tells Musk that he is the only one in the world who is capable of being in the state between man and monster. The professional believes that selling body parts and artifacts of the main character on the black market will provide him with money for a long time. With great speed, the man rushes to attack. Musk notices how a giant crater begins to form in front of him, rapidly approaching him. The man attacks in the head, but the main character easily dodges, causing the enemy to be both angry and admiring of his fighting characteristics. The man rushes into another attack and inflicts a huge number of lightning-fast strikes, trying to break the resistance of his opponent. The professional, admiring Musk's fighting characteristics, ironically notes that the guy is as tenacious as a cockroach and is clearly not going to give up. The man decides to use his signature move against the main character, hoping that it will not be as obvious to Musk as his previous attacks. However, the pro fails as Musk easily dodges the signature blow, leaving the pro confused. The man realizes that it is necessary to resort to proven methods and pulls a revolver from his sleeve, preparing for a new round of confrontation. The professional pulls the trigger. At the same moment, the entire space is illuminated by the bright light of an explosion, which envelops everything around in thick smoke. The man is sure that he destroyed the main character because over the years of battles, this technique has never failed him and always led to complete victory. As the smoke from the explosion begins to clear, the professional cannot hide his surprise. A shot from a super powerful weapon should have blown off half of the enemy's head. But Musk stands in front of him completely unharmed. Notes of fear penetrate the soul of a professional. He begins to realize that he is faced with something mysterious that goes beyond the limits of his understanding and experience. The professional is confused. He does not know how to cope with Musk. The man feels helpless in the face of an unexpected force that he has not yet had to face. The man asks Musk how he managed to predict his shot, not suspecting that the creator of the 19 rapier technique himself is standing in front of him. The main character calmly reports that he recognized his technique, recalling that he established the rules of justice when creating it. The professional demands to stop talking nonsense, calling him a crazy monster, not realizing that it is Musk who is standing in front of him. The man claims that the 19 rapier technique can only be used in the name of justice, and the destruction of monsters is justice. Musk coldly asks the professional about the people he caused pain and suffering while carrying out the orders of his greedy management. The professional, without losing confidence, says that human society is constantly developing and moral standards can change. He considers it fair to cleanse the world of weak and unnecessary people. The professional throws a sparkling blade forward, declaring that he will always stand in defense of his justice, which is incomprehensible to the monster. The man fearlessly charges forward, delivering a series of powerful slashes to Musk, trying to prove his point. The protagonist's armor flashes brightly with a red aura, reflecting his strong indignation at the enemy's perverted concepts of justice. Musk dexterously deflects the enemy's sword and raises its sharp claw above the man's head, preparing to deliver a crushing blow. The professional tries to dodge, but he fails, and a huge claw digs into his shoulder, causing severe pain. The next moment, from behind the main character, many clawed paws appear, which fall at the enemy with lightning speed, inflicting a colossal number of deadly blows. The man, bleeding, stands silently nailed to the wall, knowing that his end is near and that his sense of superiority has turned out to be just an illusion in the face of a powerful force. Musk takes out his combat sword and with powerful blows cuts the enemy into small pieces, leaving only bloody remains. The system informs the main character that his sword has taken on a new life. Musk, holding it tightly in his hands, understands that they are perfect for each other. Noticing the movement in the corridor, the guy begins to move towards the noise. After some time, the young man discovers a guard in the corridor, sitting on the floor and begging him for mercy. Musk lets his sword soak up the blood and delivers a powerful blow to the guard. The sound of breaking glass is heard. The severed parts of the guard, along with a fountain of blood, fly out at great speed from the upper floors of the building onto the street. A special police squad arrived at the entrance of the building. Armored vehicles blocked the entrances to the building, and elite Special Forces soldiers lined up in battle formations. Special Forces soldiers, dressed in armored suits, line up in rows and put armored shields in front of them. The officer reports to the general that the unit's fighters have completely surrounded the company building, and that all streets and underground sewers are under control. The general believes that there is no need to rush into an attack, and intends to first try to convince the enemy to surrender, inviting the military to find out what is going on inside. The general has a very negative view of the investment company and is convinced that there are no innocent people in the building. But he does not delve too deeply into these thoughts, considering it the responsibility of the federal government. The Special Forces soldiers report to the command that they see someone leaving the building. Musk leaves the building and stands in the cold, pouring rain. He remains calm and confident, which causes alarm among the Special Forces watching him. When Yangjian learns that the main character has gone to the investment company alone, she becomes very worried and worries about his safety. The sister, seeing her condition, tries to stop and calm her down, warning her that she needs to wait and not act hastily. After some time, Yangjin reaches the office of the investment company. Her path is blocked by one of the Special Forces officers. The Special Forces officer tells the girl that they need her to investigate an important case and asks if she knows a man named Musk. The girl reacts emotionally to this news. She immediately asks what happened to the main character and whether he is alive. The commando is silent for a while before telling the girl that perhaps it would be better if her friend were dead. Musk is in an interrogation room located at the main police station where he is being held. Through the secret glass, the general carefully observes the young man and asks his subordinates if they managed to get any confessions from him. In response, the voice of a military man is heard, who reports that the guy confessed to the attack on the company's office, but they still do not have any information about his identity, which raises numerous questions. The policeman notes that Musk resembles a ghost who skillfully hides from government surveillance, and he also adds that people from the Secret Area Inspection Bureau are also searching for him. The general, immersed in thought, assesses the situation as extremely mysterious, which raises many questions in him. At this moment, the police officer reports to the general that the detained guy is connected with a girl named Yang Jin, who is a professional and a second-level healer. The policeman tells the general that Yang Jian's father was a fifth-level professional and died in a battle with a great demon after retiring. During the investigation, the police find out that Yang Jian met the main character when she passed through a secret area with her team, where she met Musk, who appeared in this area without an official request. The general comes to the conclusion that Musk went to the company's office for the purpose of mass murder, seeking to restore justice, as the company planned to seize the site where Yang Jian and her sister live. His thoughts are suddenly interrupted when the head of the police department enters his office. The head of the police department's name is Arthur. He invites the general to go into the interrogation room to personally talk with Musk and understand the current situation. The police officer believes that the main character is in serious danger, since Arthur and the general are the most powerful warriors in the city, and their intervention always has serious consequences. The general, slowly, enters the interrogation room. He is greatly surprised by how firm and fearless the young man looks at him, which causes a feeling of wariness and interest in the general. The main character, without taking his eyes off, calmly and confidently looks at the general, as if he is not afraid of anything. The general notices that the guy is looking at his cloak, and an expression of nostalgia appears on his face, as if he is remembering something distant and important. The man sits down at the table opposite Musk and calmly says that the guy himself must understand what kind of ending awaits him, given the severity of the crime he committed. The general reports that Musk will be sentenced to death for what he has done. The man offers the guy an alternative, to join the redemption squad and go to the front lines, where the mortality rate is extremely high. Musk smiles faintly, surprised that for the general, being sent to the front, where there are full of monsters, is considered a punishment. The general carefully studies the young man's face and comes to the conclusion that he has already been on the front line, which makes him think even more. Arthur asks a direct question, trying to find out in what capacity Musk was on the front lines, whether he was a soldier fighting monsters or whether his role was different. Musk replies that his role was indeed different, which causes the general to have deep thoughts and even more questions. The general tells the young man that he is incredibly lucky, after which he introduces himself and introduces him to Arthur, emphasizing the importance of this acquaintance. Arthur informs the young man that soon they, together with the general and the garrison, will go to the front line. At this point, the general points to the medal on his chest and says that he earned this insignia earlier when he fought under the leadership of Musk himself. Arthur is very irritated by the calmness with which Musk behaves. He clearly does not like such confidence in such a situation. In a fit of anger, he hits the table with force, declaring that Musk is not in a position to increase his worth. After a short pause, Arthur adds that if Musk really was on the front line, he must understand what a high price the military paid for today's peaceful life. The men believe that Musk's ability to evade bureau monitoring and deceitfully enter dungeons could pose a serious threat to the entire society. They leave the premises. The general hopes that Musk understands everything. He warns the guy that if he is sent to the federal prison, no one there will talk to him as kindly as he and Arthur. Musk recalls with nostalgia the times when he was in the federal capital, where important events of his life took place. The main character receives the main task from the system, which is called the Rebirth of the Great Demon, which indicates his connection with ancient evil. In the past, the Great Demon was not completely destroyed. Its residual radiation was not eliminated, which gives it the opportunity to be reborn. Once Musk destroyed the demon, but despite this, his actions were subject to serious criticism. Those around him asked him many questions, especially wondering why he came so late. Because during his absence, the demon managed to cause a lot of destruction. Many people died in that disaster, and Musk was forced to publicly apologize to society for his actions. Now Musk believes that he has a new life and does not have to worry about past events. The guy believes that his current life is no longer connected with the life or death of the people of the infected city. Arthur lights a cigarette and asks the general why he was so lenient in his conversation with Musk, surprised by his gentle approach in such a serious situation. The general replies that he has never in his life seen such a young warrior on the front line, possessing such incredible strength. Arthur agrees with the general, adding that he is also surprised that at such a young age Musk was able to decapitate a 6th-level professional while still learning several combat systems. The general believes that the main character committed an extremely unwise act by contacting an investment company and calls it stupidity on his part. Arthur hopes for the objectivity of the federal court. He is confident that the court will make a fair decision. The federal court is located in the capital of the country, called the Star City, and plays a key role in making important judicial decisions. A council meeting is taking place in a huge hall. The president declares that Musk is a dangerous criminal who has killed dozens of people, including 6th-level professionals. The man carefully studies Musk's personal file and is surprised that the photo shows a very young guy. One of the ministers is very angry. He claims that the last thing the Federation needs is such genius scumbags, and adds that the more talented the criminal, the greater the threat he poses to society. He considers this a flagrant violation of federal policy, which should be subject to the severest punishment. The president insists that a criminal like Musk must be sent to the front lines, enlisting him in the front ranks of the redemption squad. The minister is unhappy with this decision. He demands a more severe and public punishment, since the investment company was one of his main sources of income. The council president suggests they not discuss the topic any further, reminding them that they have more important things to do. With obvious anger in his voice, the president asks the ministers why no information about Musk has yet been found. The ministers are silent, not knowing what to answer since they really do not have any results. An awkward silence arises, which only increases the tension in the room. The man reflects on the fact that a person cannot just disappear, and comes to the conclusion that the main character is clearly hiding somewhere, perhaps even very close. One of the ministers tries to reassure the president, stating that Musk no longer has the same strength and does not pose a serious threat. These words cause a storm of rage from the president, who recalls how Musk disappeared from the courtroom in an instant. The minister continues to insist that the young man's abilities should not be exaggerated, recalling that back then everyone felt how Musk had spent his power, and now he was left with only a small part of his power. He also adds that the ideas they spread among the people are working effectively, and the number of Musk supporters is gradually decreasing. These words do not reassure the council president. He is confident that as long as Musk is not under their control, he continues to pose a serious threat to public safety. The president reflects on how much money, power, and effort he has spent to destroy Musk's image as the nation's hero, his irritation growing. He appeals to his ministers, demanding that Musk be found and brought under control as quickly as possible, realizing that his presence at large poses a serious threat. The next question on the council's agenda concerns the situation at the front. The speaker reports that there has been a noticeable increase in high-level monsters in secret areas. The president openly expresses his dissatisfaction, considering his ministers to be gaugs and worthless employees who could not last even 1 month without the participation of Musk. The minister reports that the situation is beginning to get out of control, and without Musk's participation, monster activity has increased by 32%. The council president abruptly stands up from his chair and, with obvious anger, asks the minister if he doubts the correctness of the collective decision regarding Musk. The minister, trembling with fear, hastily answers in a trembling voice that he never doubted the correctness of the decision and fully supports the advice. The president, losing patience, shouts at his ministers, asking whether the entire federation is really not capable of solving problems without resorting to the help of just one person. The president proposes to redirect financial resources, strengthen the supply of the army, and send some troops to the front to stabilize the situation. One minister objects, arguing that mobilizing and sending the army's elite to the front would leave cities vulnerable. The president considers the minister's words disingenuous, knowing that he is actually pocketing money from the military budget by receiving contracts to supply troops stationed in cities. The president informs the minister that part of the city's defense forces are supplied by a company owned by his family, and reducing their number would harm his financial well-being. The minister gets emotional about this statement and shouts loudly, claiming that it is slander and that he is only concerned about the safety of city residents. The council president, losing patience, orders the minister to immediately shut up, declaring that the decision has been made, the city's defensive forces will be mobilized and sent to the front line. The police girl tells the sisters that all charges against them have been dropped, and they can safely return home. She also warns Sister Yang Jian that they will be called to court as witnesses in the future and are required to stay in touch. The police emphasize that this crime was the largest incident that attracted the attention of the entire Federation, so the girls must understand the responsibility and seriousness of the situation. Sister Yang Jian is very indignant. She asks the police officer what Musk's crime was, because he only dealt with bad people. The girl sternly replies that killing people is a terrible act, and there is nothing to discuss here because the main character has the blood of several dozen people on his hands. Sister Yang Jian resolutely insists on her position and loudly declares that the guy did not kill honest and respectable citizens. She explains to the police officer that the company's thugs have terrorized many families, ruining and destroying their lives, and believes that the company is the real villain, and the system that allows it to get away with it is even worse. Suddenly, the general intervenes in the conversation, agreeing with the girl and confirming that these people really persecuted many families, and each of the destroyed company employees was a real killer. The police girl is surprised that the general suddenly appeared next to them and began to say things that clearly go beyond the official position. The general informs the girls that, despite the fact that the company's employees deserve to die, they should have first been tried according to the law and not carried out lynching. The sister does not believe in the fairness of the system and asks the general why no one tried these company employees before if their crimes were obvious. The general, immersed in his thoughts, tells the girl that the world is full of darkness, and the light, illuminating it, only temporarily dispels the darkness. These philosophical arguments irritate the girl. She sharply asks why people cannot resist the darkness he speaks of. The general looks at her thoughtfully and replies that her personal confrontation will not lead to justice, but will only become lynching, which can lead to anarchy. The sister tightly grips the handles of her wheelchair and declares that she hates a world in which it is not even possible to resist evil. Yangjian looks at her sister carefully and realizes that she has already experienced many situations in which nothing could be done. She has come to terms with it, unlike her sister. Yangjian asks his sister to calm down and invites her to return home, understanding her internal struggle. The general follows the girls with his eyes, hoping that his sister will be able to become stronger and find her way in this difficult world. The policewoman is surprised by the man's words and asks why he thinks so. The general replies that anger is usually a manifestation of helplessness, but in this case, it can help the girl cope with the disease and get back on her feet. The police officer is skeptical that such anger will not be useful, since the wheelchair will still remain a limitation. Yangjian takes his sister to her room and tells her that he will be leaving her for a while as she needs to clean up the yard. The girl is left alone in complete silence, reflecting on the injustice of her fate and the world in which she lives. The sister decides that if there is not enough light in the world to dispel the darkness, then she will become the sun. And with these thoughts, she slowly rises from her wheelchair. Slowly, on trembling legs, the girl takes short steps and begins to move towards the exit of the house, overcoming pain and fear. At this time, Yang Jian, having finished cleaning the yard, heads into the house to prepare lunch and feed his sister. Suddenly, the doors of the house open, and the sister comes out onto the porch, standing on her own 2 feet, causing Yang Jian to be shocked. The girl extends her trembling hand to the surprised Yang Jian and orders her to immediately flee. The next moment, dark energy materializes around the sister, which begins to quickly spread around, filling the space at an alarming speed. There is a fierce debate in the Defense Army boardroom, with many people disagreeing that a third of the army has been mobilized. The general stands at a huge window and gazes intently into the distance. The military asks him what's wrong. The general unexpectedly replies that he feels a strong aura. A moment later, the general informs the stunned military that the energy he senses is the aura of the Great Demon. This statement causes great shock among the surrounding military, as they are convinced that the Great Demon was destroyed a long time ago. Suddenly, the general breaks a large glass and orders his subordinates to immediately activate the emergency plan. The general concentrates a colossal amount of energy in his hands, which begins to glow, tearing the air with bright flashes of lightning. On a large screen installed in the city center, a newscaster announces that a criminal hiding in the building of an investment company has recently been arrested. A passerby passing by suddenly stops near a flower bed with bright flowers. Unable to take his eyes off their beauty and aroma, he is immersed in a moment of calm in the midst of the bustle of the city. A light wind begins to pick pollen from the flower buds, spreading it through the air, creating an almost magical atmosphere around. The man, unable to take his eyes off the flowers, feels himself gradually losing control of his mind, being completely absorbed by their beauty. At the last moment, before his consciousness finally plunges into this state, he notices a large bee flying up to a flower for nectar. A passerby, noticing the motionless man, lightly pats him on the shoulder and informs him that the traffic light has already turned green, hinting that it is time to move on. Suddenly, the man turns, his face contorted in horror, and ominous green vines entwined with pink flowers begin to sprout from his eyes and mouth. A passerby, noticing what is happening, jumps back in fear. His eyes are widened with horror. He screams loudly and cannot believe what he sees in front of him. Passers-by watch in horror as the man disintegrates into many flower petals, which the wind carries along the street, filling the space around. On a nearby street, a girl notices this stream of petals flying in the wind. She considers this sight amazingly beautiful and bewitching, unaware of its ominous nature. Suddenly, from behind the intersection, a huge moving lump appears, consisting of plant matter and petals, which rapidly moves forward. The huge lump begins to take on the ominous outlines of faces that slowly appear on its surface. The souls of the absorbed people become part of this eerie mass that continues to move, absorbing everything in its path. People nearby begin to mutate, their bodies gradually turning into plants, and their heads transforming into huge flowers. A professional hunter, waving his sword, quickly rushes down the street, ordering passers-by to remain calm and move to a safe distance as quickly as possible. Passers-by, noticing the hunter, immediately experience relief and joy. They are confident that with the appearance of a high-level professional, their lives are now out of danger. The hunter raises his sword high, preparing to strike a crushing blow, his gaze full of determination. The hunter strikes the plant ball with his sword, causing a large explosion. In an instant, he cuts the ball in half, declaring that every monster that crosses his path is doomed to death. Horror grips passers-by when they see how the hunter's hand, holding the sword, begins to transform, turning into a tangle of plant vines. Hunters standing nearby notice a green glow emanating from the spores and realize with horror that this is nothing more than the reincarnation of the great demon. Meanwhile, a huge plant mass is rapidly moving along the street, devouring everyone who comes in its way. At this time, a group of military men led by a general jumps from the roof of a high-rise building, intending to reach the place where the demon was activated as quickly as possible in order to stop its destructive march. The military man, who arrived in the city center, is shocked by the huge number of demons filling the streets. He cannot understand how this could happen. The general quickly realizes that this incident is the second coming of the great demon. The military notices that the aura of this demon is significantly different from the previous one. It emits a powerful intention to destroy and distort all living things around. Having landed on a nearby building, the general and his team are going to discuss further actions in the face of a growing threat. The military realizes that common sense is absolutely inapplicable to these monsters, because they are capable of developing and mutating beyond the limits of human imagination, becoming more and more dangerous. The general orders his subordinates to take control of the street, watch the demon from afar and not allow it to spread, emphasizing that one must be extremely careful and not come into contact with the demon under any circumstances, as it is extremely contagious. The military immediately obeys the order, jumping from the high-rise building and concentrating their efforts on the infected street, trying to keep the situation under control. A wild panic begins on the streets of the city. Passers-by run in horror, fleeing the hellish creatures that have filled the streets. One of the passers-by watches in horror as demons grab people and devour them. Suddenly, a general appears on the infected street. He orders people to immediately run away to a safe distance to avoid death. The general senses an ominous energy around him that subjugates his will to a dark force, and he desperately tries to contain it. The man creates a huge field of plasma and directs it at incredible speed towards the flower demon, trying to destroy it once and for all. A stream of fiery plasma rushes at tremendous speed over the heads of shocked townspeople. Gradually expanding, it fills the entire street and burns out all the flower demons in its path. People on the street watch with relief as the flames consume and destroy the demons. They are confident that they are now saved, and the threat has passed. The ashes of burnt flower demons scatter in the wind and settle on the face of one of the passers-by. Suddenly, the man begins to scream loudly as his face begins to transform into an eerie cloud of biomass. In an instant, this unfortunate man transforms into a new flower demon, continuing the cycle of nightmare. City streets, previously filled with life, are now completely covered with vines and trees that have taken over buildings and roads. The high-rise buildings, once symbols of the city's prosperity, are now completely shrouded in thick green vines that climb up their walls, taking over everything around them. Creepy flower demons, who were once human, roam the center of the city. Their bodies are twisted and elongated, and their heads have turned into huge roses. Arthur cannot contain his rage as he watches the infected quarter turn into an eerie green hell, where all living things are subject to destruction and mutation. The military is building a protective energy field, which is trying to break through the tentacles of a huge flower demon, which is persistently trying to break out. The general gives the order to stop using fire spells, warning that under no circumstances should anyone attack those infected with fire, since the ash is also highly contagious. He suggests focusing on ensuring that not a single monster can escape beyond the cordoned-off zone. Arthur finds the general on the street and asks him about what is happening here, trying to understand the reasons and scale of the nightmare that is happening. The general tells Arthur that he himself sees perfectly well what a nightmare is happening around him, and asks the question whether he really believes that the demon has been reborn. Arthur reports that the previously destroyed monster was undoubtedly the greater demon, but he cannot understand how it was able to return. The general believes that the whole point may be immortality, which few demons possess. He explains that if such demons are cut into pieces and burned to ashes, they can still be reborn. In nature, there is a similar phenomenon. The jellyfish, upon reaching maturity, returns to its original young version, and this process can continue indefinitely unless it is eaten or dies of disease, which in theory makes the jellyfish immortal. The general adds that this type of monster, which has immortality, was discovered only a few years ago, so few people know about it. The Great Demon, after its destruction, left part of its aura, which became the reason for its resurrection. But its nature is now different from what it was before. Arthur, greatly concerned that this type of demon is capable of mutating peddlers, curses the federal government employees. The general gives Arthur a piercing look and asks him to explain in more detail what he means. Arthur says that after Musk destroyed the Great Demon, he instructed officials to heal all those affected by its radiation, and they promised to completely get rid of all traces left by the demon. Arthur reports that officials immediately agreed and even issued a military order guaranteeing this. But soon after Musk left, officials began to ignore his instructions. They got rid of some of the destruction left by the demon and embezzled money allocated by Musk for relief efforts. Arthur says this disaster could have been avoided if the government had followed Musk's orders from the beginning. The general suggests discussing this issue later and asks Arthur where the epicenter of the energy fluctuations is. Arthur realizes that the general plans to deal with the greater demon alone and tries to dissuade him from this step. The general firmly believes that now is the right time to eliminate the demon, since it has just been revived and has not yet mutated to a high level. The man believes that the demon must be destroyed as quickly as possible, otherwise he will have to pay a much higher price later. Arthur says that he will request a map of energy fluctuations from the Bureau and asks the general to take care of himself and not become infected by the Great Demon. At this time, unsuspecting citizens are traveling in a subway car. The news tells them that, by decision of the council, part of the city defense forces will be deployed to the front line. Suddenly, a military man approaches the newscaster and hands her documents containing an emergency message. The announcer, in a noticeably alarmed voice, reads out a message that a monster of the level of a natural disaster has appeared, and local authorities are doing everything possible to neutralize it. The people in the subway car are very worried about such news, but still hope that the government will be able to protect them from the impending threat. Huge tentacles are taking over the city. They penetrate every building, wrap around skyscrapers and transform them into something resembling a demonic forest. Residents of the city begin to frantically search for information on social networks, where many post videos and images indicating that the city center is being taken over by humanoid flowers. The newscaster reports that, according to information from a reliable source, the threat level from the monsters is low, but the energy fluctuations emanating from them correspond to the 7th level. The girl announcer adds that her television channel will broadcast live events, since a film crew has already been sent to the city center. The general quickly moves through the captured streets, dodging the huge vines of the flower monster, which are unsuccessfully trying to grab him. With incredible speed, he escapes from pursuit, leaving the monsters behind. Suddenly, the general stops abruptly, stopping his run, as something has attracted his attention. He notices a dense network of vines and sees that someone is on one of the huge flowers. Taking a closer look, the general realizes with horror that the flower monster has been reborn in the body of Sister Yangjian. The girl smiles insidiously, her eyes sparkle with a mysterious light. She playfully runs her fingers over a large flower, clearly enjoying her new state. The general, holding back his rage, asks the girl if she really thinks that she can force people to worship her just because of her majestic appearance. Some monsters specifically imitate religious images that have been known on Earth since ancient times. When such monsters first appeared, their tricks actually affected people, making them believe that this was a punishment from heaven. Arthur, using a walkie-talkie, informs the general that, judging by the energy fluctuations, the monster standing in front of him is the resurrected Great Demon. The man looks at the flower monster and regretfully admits that he did not expect that in just a few hours the girl would turn into a monster. Sister Yangjian smiles sweetly at him and mockingly asks him if he regrets it. The general clenches his palm into a fist, concentrating a powerful energy field around himself. Electrical discharges permeate the entire space around him. With cold determination, he tells Sister Yangjian that the only thing he regrets is not destroying her when she was still harmless and in a stroller. The general transforms his powerful energy field into a concentrated beam and directs it directly at Sister Yangjian, who is captured by the flower monster. A TV helicopter is circling over the battle site, and a cameraman is broadcasting the battle live, showing viewers the intense battle. The general rises into the air, discharges of energy sparkle around him. He is sure that the monster did not have time to react to his powerful attack, and he had no chance to survive. However, after a moment, the general realizes with disappointment that the blow did not have the desired effect on the flower monster. The injuries that the monster received after being hit by the force field are quickly healed by small vines. The monster turns to the general and, with a grin, declares that he was only a little ticklish. The demon looks at the general with a barely noticeable, mocking smile, as if enjoying his strength and the feeling of superiority over him. The general is sincerely surprised by the incredible speed of regeneration of the great demon, which is being restored literally before our eyes. The cameraman of the television company watching what is happening also cannot contain his surprise. He just saw how half of the monster's face was torn off, but now the demon looks absolutely safe and sound, as if nothing had happened. The general concentrates powerful streams of energy around himself and with hatred rushes at the great demon in another attack. The general directs concentrated energy into a destructive blow. Several dozen light rays rush towards the monster at great speed. The light rays released by the general crash into the flower monster with enormous force, piercing through its body. After the general's attack, the flower monster instantly regenerates, recovering at an alarming rate. The flower monster smiles sarcastically and mockingly asks the general whether the light that is supposed to dispel the darkness is really so weak. The man senses an incredible danger looming not only over the city, but over the entire nation. With surprise, the general hears the voice of a flower monster behind him, who mockingly asks him how fast he can move. The general suddenly realizes that the speed of movement of the great demon significantly exceeds his own capabilities, which causes him surprise and concern. The monster, taking advantage of its incredible speed, appears behind the man and mockingly asks how he was going to dispel the darkness, possessing such a small amount of strength. Gathering all his will and concentrating the remaining energy, the general resolutely pushes off from the building and heads towards the neighboring structure, hoping to reach it before the demon has time to strike. The television cameraman filming the battles can hardly believe his eyes. He is amazed at the incredible speed with which the general and the great demon move, jumping from one building to another. The general successfully lands on the roof of a nearby building, but turning around realizes with horror that he was unable to tear himself away from the demon even by a step. The general understands that the great demon does not have incredible speed at all, but uses plants to instantly change its location. Arthur asks the general to retreat, believing that destroying the great demon is impossible while all the humanoid flowers are alive. He claims that the monster cannot be defeated, no matter how many times it is attacked, and proposes a radical solution: the use of weapons of mass destruction to completely destroy the entire infected area. The general, jumping from the roof onto the road, loudly declares to the monster that he will not allow him to hide from the inevitable punishment. With confidence, he slowly unfurls his battle cloak, preparing for the final, decisive attack that will end this battle. The general touches his medal with special trepidation, reminding him of the feat for which he was awarded. The great demon, trying to undermine the enemy's morale, invites the general to stop useless resistance, claiming that all his efforts will be in vain. The general, not succumbing to provocations, confidently takes a fighting stance, concentrating all his energy for a powerful blow. The mocking voice of a flower demon sounds, mockingly comparing the man to a cornered animal. Strong streams of energy surround the general. His gaze is full of determination. Bright lightning flashes around him. He prepares a powerful blow in response to the threat posed by the demon. The general, with cold determination in his voice, tells the flower demon that he will now witness how a true warrior can die with dignity, fighting until his last breath. The general releases a powerful charge of energy that soars into the sky with great speed, illuminating everything around with bright flashes, tearing apart space and causing buildings around to tremble. The general decides to use the technique of forcing the element, realizing all its danger because this technique can lead to his death, but at the same time it gives a chance to defeat the demon. Arthur, realizing the seriousness of the general's intentions, realizes that he is going to completely release his vital forces, the burning of which will temporarily increase his combat abilities to unprecedented heights. In desperation, Arthur grabs the radio and tries to persuade the general to refuse to use this deadly technique, fearing for his life and future fate. Meanwhile, the flower demon also realizes his opponent's plan and remarks with contempt that the general will not be able to withstand the colossal overloads caused by such a technique and will die without being able to achieve his goal. Bright flashes of energy flash around the general's body. Every movement, every cell of his body is on the verge of disintegration under the influence of an unimaginable force, ready to tear him apart. With a contemptuous grin, the flower demon calls the general a fool, emphasizing that after using such a technique, even the most experienced warriors become ordinary people, often suffering from serious illnesses or remaining paralyzed for the rest of their lives. The general's face shows signs of a terrible internal struggle. His face becomes covered with wounds, and the energy surrounding his body begins to tear him apart from the inside. The general, having gathered all his energy, rushes straight into the flower demon with incredible speed. His body turns into a deadly projectile, which, when colliding with the monster, causes a powerful explosion. The great demon declares with contempt that all attempts to destroy him will be futile. As long as he is able to move his mind, no one will be able to take his life. In response to these words, the general, surrounded by a plasma field, flies past the flower monster with incredible speed and cuts it in half. The general is satisfied. He understands that his blow was faster than the demon's thought, and this brings him a feeling of joy. The cameraman, continuing to broadcast the battle, tells the audience with admiration that the general inflicted a serious wound on the great monster. Arthur, carefully watching the information screens, he notices that the demon's energy fluctuations did not disappear after the blow, but on the contrary, their frequency began to increase rapidly. The man says that their opponent is not the great demon. Arthur's statement causes great surprise and confusion among the officers present in the room, who immediately begin to ask the officer what he is talking about. In response to their questions, Arthur begins to tell an old legend, according to which there is a giant Antaeus, who becomes invincible as long as he stands on the earth, continuously drawing strength from it. He reports that the mutated great demon with whom they are now fighting is in fact this same Antaeus, drawing its power from the ground on which it stands. The city is gradually plunging into chaos. The plant mass takes over more and more territory, and tens of thousands of infected continue to feed the great demon. The employees at the control center quickly realize that unless all the infected are destroyed, it will be impossible to defeat the great demon, as its power will continue to increase. The operator reports with alarm that the energy readings continue to rise at an incredible rate and have reached the maximum level of fluctuations recorded in the secret area, indicating a critical threat. Arthur realizes with horror that the great demon has become a 9th-level natural disaster, and its power continues to grow steadily, threatening everything around it. The flower demon regenerates the destroyed half of its body with great speed, and is amazed that professionals can achieve such a high level of skill by burning themselves. The general hears the voice of a monster, who admits that she too once dreamed of being big and strong and traveling the world with a sword in her hands. The girl turns to the man and bitterly asks him why, with such power, he could not dispel the darkness he spoke of earlier, and how he could allow so many innocent people to fall into darkness and die. A huge number of humanoid flowers are running through the streets. They loudly repeat the great demon's question. Why? The humanoid flowers quickly run up to the great demon and merge into one giant plant creature. The military is using its last strength to hold the energy shields that are blocking the great demon in the center of the city. Their strength is running out. The soldiers desperately inform their commanders that they can no longer withstand the enormous pressure of the monsters. Suddenly, the humanoid flowers stop their attacks on the energy dome and suddenly turn towards the city center, causing confusion among the defenders. The humanoid flowers rush towards the central square with incredible speed, causing the military to freeze in surprise at such unexpected behavior. The military continues to be at a loss, trying to understand what force could provoke such an unexpected change in the behavior of monsters. One of the soldiers feels joy that they were able to survive this terrible battle. Gradually, he begins to understand that this is only a temporary respite, and the real threat is yet to come. The humanoid flowers combine with the greater demon to form a huge plant mass that quickly increases in size, becoming a giant triangle that slowly rotates on its axis. The huge plant mass created by the fusion of humanoid flowers and the greater demon emits a dazzling green glow that quickly spreads throughout the city. The great demon continues to grow. Reaching colossal sizes, the general declares to the demon that he knows the true reason for his appearance in this world. The general accumulates all his power, gathering enormous strength in his hands, and directs a destructive stream of energy directly at the greater demon, aiming to deal him a crushing blow. The man flares up with a dazzling energy fire, turning into a living embodiment of strength. He furiously declares to the monster that death has become commonplace in this world, and without hesitation, he rushes into the attack, ready to sacrifice everything for the sake of victory. Powerful rays of energy released by the general collide with the monster, who confidently blocks them with his huge hand, neutralizing the destructive charge. The general increases the energy pressure. Deadly beams of energy begin to penetrate the defenses, destroying the great demon's arm and causing him to feel a real threat for the first time. Subway passengers see on their TV screens how the general broke through the great demon's defenses. They shout joyfully, not holding back their emotions, and hope that the general's next attack will finally destroy the monster. People believe that soon their torment will end, and the general will bring them a long-awaited victory. The great demon mockingly declares that the general is too eager to die and promises to help him in this. The next moment, the demon with incredible speed grabs the man with his huge hand and squeezes him tightly in his fist. He says that the general will now go straight to hell. The man looks at the monster with hatred, listening to his ominous voice, which promises that the entire world around him will go to hell after him. The monster's huge hand squeezes the general's body. A powerful bang occurs, after which many flower petals scatter in the air. The great demon scatters the petals through the air and says with contempt that this fight was reminiscent of a tiger fighting a pathetic insect. Arthur looks at the monitors. He sees the death of his friend and feels deep sadness from this loss. People in the subway are greatly shocked by the death of the general. They hoped for victory, but the monster destroyed their hero, destroying the last remnants of hope. A woman closes her child's eyes. He asks what is happening, to which the mother replies that grandfather has turned into beautiful petals. Subway passengers realize in horror that their city has come to an end. There is no longer hope for salvation. The situation seems hopeless to them. One of the men says that Musk could help the townspeople in such a situation, but he has not been seen or heard from for more than a month. The girl standing nearby falls into hysterics. She does not know what to do, and in despair declares that she does not want to die. Musk is in federal prison. He hears a message over the speakerphone that an elemental-level monster has appeared in the center of the city, and all personnel must immediately proceed to the evacuation point. The president of the council cannot contain his anger. He considers his subordinates to be mediocrities who talk a lot, but when the time comes to act, they cannot do anything and are afraid to die. The man looks at his ministers sitting silently at the table and thinks that they are just cowardly people, mired in greed and fear of death. One of the ministers dares to tell the council president that he should not have treated Musk so harshly. The council president slams his hands down hard on the table and orders them to never talk about this again. The minister informs the president that they have only one option left: to use low-power nuclear weapons to eliminate the monster. Officials strongly support the proposal and believe that, despite the inevitable civilian casualties, such a move will ultimately save more lives. The president looks around at his ministers, but instead of people, he sees before him only creatures who pursue only their own selfish interests and flatter him for their own benefit. Suddenly, one of the men reports that changes have occurred at the scene of the disaster and that someone else has appeared there. He believes that this can significantly affect the further course of events. The president anxiously asks who it could be, assuming they are the professionals they sent to help. A man with an expression of horror on his face reports that the alien is more like a monster than a man. A huge hole appeared in the solid, reinforced concrete roof of the Self-Defense Forces prison. The prison guard looks in surprise at the huge, ragged grooves that have appeared on the walls of the cell, unable to understand what could have created them. The second guard approaches the man. He notices his shocked look and anxiously asks what is happening and where the prisoner is. The guard, in a state of shock, finds it difficult to utter words. He points his finger at the roof and has difficulty saying that the prisoner has escaped. The self-defense forces have surrounded the city center and are preparing to block the monster and prevent it from spreading beyond the area. The plants continue their advance. Part of the military is seized with panic. The soldiers run away in horror, shouting that they do not want to die. The senior unit tries to calm the frightened soldiers. He decides to take control of the situation and in a loud voice orders them to stop panicking and stop immediately. Using personal example, he shows that monsters can be resisted. The man rushes into the attack and strikes one of the humanoid plants with a spear. The huge bud instantly swallows the spear. The strong vines of the plant instantly wrap around the man, depriving him of the opportunity to escape from this deadly trap. A moment later, a huge chomping mass captures the military man who dared to attack, swallowing him whole and leaving not the slightest chance of salvation. One of the military men, without wasting a second, decides to save his colleague and boldly rushes onto the plant mass. He is ready to sacrifice himself to save his comrade. The sound of sword strikes is heard, and a stranger appears out of nowhere, cutting through the vines and freeing the captured military man. A colleague quickly runs up to his freed comrade, helping him get to his feet and continue the fight. The television cameraman, eager to capture the best footage, asks the pilot to fly higher to get a better angle. But the pilot tells the cameraman that he has received orders from his superiors to immediately leave the danger zone and get out of here as quickly as possible. The operator, not paying attention to the danger, asks the pilot to wait just a minute. explaining that he is about to be able to shoot a truly masterpiece shot that will become a real sensation. At this moment, a huge field of plasma moves at incredible speed along the city street, burning plant matter in its path and creating unimaginable chaos. Numerous citizens with bated breath watch what is happening through their television screens, sincerely believing that federal troops have finally come to the rescue. People watch with delight as an unknown force easily cuts through huge plant vines and destroys monsters one by one. This gives people a feeling of relief and joy. However, after some time, the audience begins to realize with surprise that it is not the federal forces that are fighting the great monster, but an unknown powerful monster, which causes them anxiety and confusion. At this time, the system informs the protagonist that his main mission is to prevent the reincarnation of the great demon. Musk realizes that the greater demon's aura is different from what he knew in his past life, which makes him wonder what kind of opponent he will have to face this time. Initially, the great demon radiated an aura of decay and destruction, but this time its essence suddenly changed, and now it personifies life, which causes deep bewilderment in the guy. The demon takes over the city, using the pristine rainforests, which are rapidly developing, turning everything around into a single biome where there is no sadness and pain, and everything is immersed in a state of eternal peace and harmony. The demon girl closes her eyes and plunges into her thoughts. She reflects on how painful it is to exist in this thoroughly rotten world, full of injustice and suffering. She invites everyone to join her, to submit to her will, promising that those who discover her path will find a world without sadness and sadness, where justice and harmony reign. Sister Yang Jian begins to realize that she is no longer her own person. She has merged with the humanoid flowers, and all the lives she has absorbed are now one. The great demon believes that soon more people will be able to join her new happy family, finding the peace she offers. The demon suddenly senses that a significant group of plants has disappeared in the southern direction, and, glancing in that direction, notices a monster approaching him, which destroys the vegetation in its path. Musk reflects that he would never have imagined that the reincarnation of the great demon would occur in the body of Sister Yang Jian, which gives him mixed feelings. The main character, moving along giant plant vines, rushes at great speed towards the great demon, overcoming all obstacles in his path. The great demon begins to realize that Musk does not assimilate into her essence and is not an ordinary person, which makes her wary. With his huge hand, the great demon tries to grab the main character. Musk, covered in a glowing red aura, makes dozens of slashes with his sword, repelling her attack. At this moment, a huge number of humanoid plants rush towards the young man, trying to block his path and protect their master. Musk fearlessly rushes into the midst of these humanoid plants. Suddenly, there is a huge explosion with a huge release of energy, tearing everything around into pieces. The blast wave pushes the main character a considerable distance, preventing him from moving forward and forcing him to stop for a moment. Musk instantly launches another attack, rushing along the vine at great speed straight towards the body of the great demon, destroying everything that comes in its way. At this time, the operator broadcasts the battle live, rejoicing that the great demon is not able to withstand the incredible speed of the monster. One of the hunters begins to realize that the battle is not between monsters. The opponent of the great demon is a man who, despite his human nature, looks and fights like a real monster. The guy watches in amazement how quickly Musk dodges each explosion, and realizes that it is not just luck, but the strength of a high-level master that allows him to overcome any obstacles. The great demon is horrified to discover that Musk has bypassed all her traps and obstacles, and is now rapidly approaching her head, which puts her in an extremely dangerous position. Musk begins to concentrate all of his energy, his body taking on an ominous, angular shape, and brightly glowing energy patterns flare up around him. Musk spreads its wings and rushes towards the demon's head, preparing to deliver a crushing blow that could decide the outcome of the battle. People watching the battle notice with amazement that the main character, having turned into a monster, has not only incredible speed, but also the ability to fly. The mood of the crowd begins to noticeably improve, as they are confident that soon their strange ally will destroy the greater demon and free them from the threat. Musk concentrates a huge energy field around itself, creating a dark red ball of plasma that is aimed directly at the demon's head. The cameraman, watching the development of events, happily comments on what is happening, announcing that the monster has achieved its goal and cut off the head of the great demon, which delights the audience. At this moment, hundreds of humanoid flowers suddenly freeze, stopping their rapid flight and as if losing their previous goal, stopping in place, as if they were devoid of will. The cameraman sees how humanoid flowers all over the city have stopped and are no longer moving, He believes that the people have finally won and the danger has passed. However, his joy quickly gives way to anxiety when all the flowers simultaneously begin to say the same phrase, continuously repeating the question, "Who you are?" At this time, the head of the great demon begins to regenerate at incredible speed. Numerous vines entwine it, restoring its original shape. The great demon notices a blade called the Night Raven in Musk's hands, and is surprised to ask the young man where he got this weapon from. The great demon tells Musk that he did not expect that the young man was also a monster. In his new form, the demon invites the main character to stop fighting, declaring that they do not need to fight each other because they can achieve more together. Handing Musk his spiritual core, the demon says that together they can change this rotten world. The greater demon's flower-shaped core flashes with a bright light, emitting a huge amount of vital energy. The demon approaches Musk with an offer. He claims that his core will help the guy escape from this ruthless and dirty world, and again invites him to join him. He persistently invites the main character to leave his past life behind and focus on the eternal, enjoying the silence of the forests and the beauty of mountain rivers where there is no place for suffering. The great demon is convinced that there is darkness in this world that cannot be dispelled, and proposes to destroy it along with the world itself in order to create something new. A TV channel cameraman, while in a helicopter, suddenly clutches his heart after hearing the screams of tens of thousands of humanoid flowers, which have a strong effect on him. Carefully examining the monsters, the operator begins to suspect that they are somehow connected and know each other. The great demon begins to understand why Musk is silent and does not respond to his proposals. He comes to the conclusion that the guy intends to stop him at any cost. The demon, with a sly smile, offers to check whether the main character will be able to kill him, or whether he is destined to fail, after which he threatens to destroy the entire world. The next moment, the head of the great demon explodes, illuminating everything around with a bright light of green energy that spreads throughout the entire space. With incredible force, many powerful vines burst out of the demon's body, which instantly rush towards Musk, trying to absorb him. The vines quickly reach their target and tightly wrap around Musk, forming a plant ball around it, which prevents it from moving. Powerful vines completely hamper Musk's movements, not giving him the slightest chance to free himself, and continue to hold him in the air. The demon is filled with rage and determination. He screams with superhuman strength. His eyes glow with a bright green light, emitting incredible energy. With a powerful movement, Musk opens its wings, which with incredible force cut the plant vines that bind it, freeing it from the trap. At great speed, the main character rushes towards the face of the great demon, intending to deliver the decisive blow. A moment later, the great demon swallows Musk, and the main character suddenly finds himself in the monster's mouth. Without wasting a second, Musk unleashes a powerful blow, breaking through the back of the greater demon's head. Musk remembers that in his past life he destroyed at least tens of thousands of giant monsters. He realizes that the reason he cannot deal with the greater demon is because he cannot find its real body. Suspecting that the demon's real body is not in the head, but is hidden somewhere deeper, probably in the chest, the guy changes direction and flies up to the demon's back, preparing for a new attack. Musk begins to deliver a colossal number of fast and precise cutting blows with his sword, tearing the demon's insides into pieces. Soon, a huge explosion occurs, which throws out a lot of chopped plant matter, thrown out of the monster's body under pressure. Without stopping for a moment, Musk continues to strike at the dense biomass, moving deeper and deeper into the great demon. The guy decisively and confidently follows his goal. After some time, a bright glow appears in front of him, protected by a dense weave of plant fibers. At this moment, the main character realizes that he was not mistaken, and has finally found the real body of the great demon, hidden in the very depths of his being. The guy cuts the dense plant cocoon and approaches the body of Sister Yangjian. The girl reacts too late to Musk's approach and turns to him at the very last moment. Musk delivers a powerful blow with his sword and pierces through Sister Yangjian's body. The great demon tells the young man that he did not expect another insect to stand in the way of the tiger. Musk feels very tired. Bordering on loss of consciousness, he realizes that he has no energy left. A moment later, the main character loses consciousness. He is gently picked up by dense plant tentacles. Sister Yangjian, shrouded in glowing vines, appears calm and collected despite the danger looming over her. Her cold gaze focused on Musk as if she foresees the outcome of the battle, but shows no fear or worry. Musk regains consciousness and realizes with horror that the great demon remains unharmed. This makes him think about what to do next. The Great Demon does not recognize the main character as Musk and notices that he finds this man much more attractive than the one he knew as Musk. The demon persistently asks the guy to relax and stop resisting. He states that the guy has already killed him, and now he is only using the remaining energy to maintain his form. The cameraman, filming what is happening on a video camera, feels deep disappointment. He believes that the people have lost and the city is doomed to destruction. Suddenly, the sky over the city becomes covered with huge dark clouds, and heavy rain begins, which adds to the gloom of the situation. People watch what is happening with concern. A bright scarlet glow suddenly appears on the horizon of the dark sky, foreshadowing something terrible. Breaking the dark sky, a beam of bright light rushes towards the city at great speed, which is illuminated with a bright red glow. The cameraman of the television company, trying with all his might to control himself, informs viewers that this is a nuclear bomb designed to destroy the Great Demon. Members of the government decided to use low-yield nuclear weapons to get rid of the threat. The president, lost in thought, sits alone in the conference room and ponders what he has done. The Great Demon, watching the approaching nuclear bomb, coldly declares that the people in power are ruthless and are willing to sacrifice an entire city for their goals. The demon decides that, at least before he dies, he will make all people realize how ugly those in government are and what price they are willing to pay to save themselves. The girl turns to the main character and with cold confidence reports that the government freaks had a lot of fun with Musk at one time. The Great Demon's body begins to transform. Massive plant tentacles unite into one huge trunk, which, twisting, lifts it high into the sky. Tens of thousands of humanoid flowers rush towards the demon, merging with it and increasing its biomass. The Great Demon quickly grows to a colossal size and continues to rise higher into the sky. He transforms his hand into a giant plant claw, which he reaches towards the heavens, preparing to ward off the oncoming threat. A nuclear charge flies at great speed into the city center, illuminating everything around with a plasma field. At great speed, the nuclear charge crashes into the Great Demon, who by that time had already turned into a huge tree. Two colossal forces collide. The sky above the city lights up with a bright flash of a nuclear explosion, illuminating everything around. Light radiation of incredible power spreads through the center of the city, destroying tens of thousands of humanoid flowers and turning them into ash. The Great Demon's plant tentacles weaken, and the protagonist's lifeless body falls down. A huge number of plant vines instantly rush towards Musk, which wrap around his body, forming reliable protection around him. At this time, a huge nuclear mushroom rises into the air. A blast wave sweeps through the center of the city, destroying everything in its path and leaving behind only ruins. The military is making great efforts to contain the energy field behind which the surviving people are located. The girl clings to her boyfriend and asks him with concern in her voice whether the military managed to defeat the Great Demon. The nuclear charge destroyed most of the huge tree into which the Great Demon had turned, the remains of its trunk burning with a bright flame, illuminating the deserted city. The operator tells Arthur that the object that caused the incredible energy fluctuations has disappeared. Arthur cannot believe that a demon whose threat level was equivalent to a natural disaster was successfully eliminated. Strong air currents sweep through the city center, lifting the fallen general's cloak into the air and carrying him away. People are very surprised that the Great Demon deliberately collided with a nuclear warhead and sincerely do not understand what could make him take such a step. The young man points his hand to the sky and asks everyone to look carefully at what is happening above them. The remains of a huge tree, which was the embodiment of the great monster, begin to slowly collapse, turning into small particles. These particles, smoothly falling to the ground, gradually transform into beautiful flower petals, creating a mesmerizing spectacle. People, frozen, watch in amazement as a huge number of flower petals slowly descend from the sky, enveloping the city in a soft, weightless rain of flowers. The girl, without hiding her delight, exclaims that she has never seen such beauty in her life. Her eyes sparkle with admiration. A man standing behind her anxiously orders her not to touch the petals, fearing that they might be dangerous and could lead to infection. However, the girl cannot resist and gently collects flower petals, slowly falling from the sky into her hands, rejoicing at their tenderness and beauty. The man exhales with relief, seeing that nothing terrible happened, and the girl remained unharmed, having avoided mutation. Musk sits near a huge stone in the form of a monster. He holds the body of Sister Yangjian in his arms. The guy silently watches the unconscious girl. Deep down, he feels gratitude for his salvation, realizing that he owes her his life. Sister Yangjian, looking at the petals falling from the sky, quietly tells the guy that she never knew that spring could be so beautiful, after which she gradually disappears, leaving behind only bright small lights that slowly dissolve into the air. At this moment, the system informs the main character that his main mission has been completed. The reincarnation of the great demon is not completed, and he receives a demon core as a reward. Musk holds in his hands the green, shimmering heart that is the greater demon's core, realizing that this power now belongs to him. Its surface shimmers with energy. The guy feels how this heart pulsates with vitality. Musk realizes that in his hands is not only the heart of the great demon, but also the heart of Sister Yangjian. The main character, realizing the full power and significance of the great demon's heart, decides to introduce it into his monster body. He carefully brings the heart to his chest and feels how it begins to merge with his essence. People watching the live broadcast of the battle begin to experience incredible feelings of relief and joy, realizing that the threat has finally been eliminated. There are still a huge number of humanoid flowers on the streets of the city, which continue their slow march. Suddenly, something incredible happens. The humanoid flowers begin to turn back into people. Many of those who watch this spectacle experience severe shock and are unable to express their emotions in words. One of the townspeople, realizing the terrifying truth, understands that the flowers killed by the nuclear bomb remained people all this time. Meanwhile, a meeting is taking place in the meeting room of the heads of the Federation, where the consequences of the battle and further actions necessary to restore the city and the world as a whole are discussed. The minister informs the president that the government is monitoring the situation, but many people already know about what happened. He strongly recommends commenting on it, otherwise the government will find itself in a difficult position. The president reflects that he has already used public opinion to discredit Musk, but despite this, tension in society still does not subside. The minister glares at the president, mentally reasoning that although the bomb killed several thousand people, it still is not enough for him to remove the president from his post. Mr. Walter stands up from his seat and confidently tells the president that the solution is more than obvious. Walter believes that all responsibility for the deaths of civilians must be shifted to Musk as quickly as possible in order to divert public attention from the actions of the government. The surprised minister, without hiding his confusion, asks Walter how this could concern Musk, since no one has seen him for a long time and does not know where he is now. Walter responds that it is because Musk was not in town that he is responsible for what happened. He argues that if Musk had helped the federal authorities, they would not have had to pay such a high price, and the deaths of thousands of people could have been avoided. Walter states that the Federation and all of humanity provided Musk with incredible opportunities and access to unlimited resources, but instead of gratitude, he cowardly fled, not appreciating the generosity of the council. The man accuses Musk that his indifference to ordinary citizens led to a natural disaster in the city, and it was because of his disregard for society that it found itself in such a critical situation. The tense atmosphere of the meeting intensifies, since the decisions to be made could radically affect the future of all humanity. Walter and the president remain alone in the office. Walter, trying to calm the president, assures him that everything is under control, and he will personally make sure that everything goes flawlessly. The president cannot hide his irritation. He believes that the council does not have enough combat power, and if they had at least a fifth of Musk's forces, they could deal with any threat. Throwing an angry look at Walter, the president sharply asks how work is going on the Vostok project. Walter calmly replies that they have already conducted more than 200 successful experiments and are significantly ahead of schedule. The man continues to talk about how many samples can exist for quite a long time. Based on this data, he concludes that the merging of a person with a monster is possible. Walter, going to the window, silently looks for some time at the night city, immersed in lights, and then confidently tells the president that they will soon raise the human species to unprecedented heights. Walter suddenly raises his hands and turns them towards the huge glowing moon, enthusiastically declaring that very soon they will become gods. Before the advent of Musk, creatures emerging from rifts lived in limited areas. They constantly attacked human settlements, sending countless souls to the next world and wreaking havoc and destruction on the world. When Musk appeared, humanity was finally able to set foot in the Forbidden Lands again. Musk, like the wrath of the gods, mercilessly captured and altered the demon territory until it became a front line. Through the efforts of just one man, humanity has evolved from a tiny hope to unstoppable progress, all made possible by one godlike man. A group of hunters stands near a dimensional portal, eagerly awaiting the arrival of their commander. The hunters decide which of them should take responsibility for reporting the situation to the commander. The men come to the conclusion that it is better to entrust the report to the most experienced fighter. since he is more knowledgeable about the situation and will be able to most fully and accurately convey all the details to the commander. The men stop their heated discussions, noticing that the spatial portal has been activated, and the silhouette of a man begins to appear in it. One of the hunters thinks respectfully of his commander, remembering how he fought a level 7 demon and cleared the area in just half an hour. A girl with a protective mask on her face emerges from the portal with a confident step. She is the captain of the hunters. Her presence instantly returns order to the ranks of the hunters. The girl's name is Margarita. Emerging from the portal, she carefully examines the hunters standing in front of her. Margarita turns to one of the hunters, noticing his tense expression, and asks why he looks so strange. The hunter takes a long time to collect his thoughts before finally saying that they need to tell her something important. Margarita learns that the city of Doha was attacked by the Great Demon. This information does not cause her much surprise. She calmly wonders whether the monster was killed. The guy reports that the monster was destroyed and the threat was eliminated, but Margarita's father sacrificed himself in this battle. Margarita reacts rather strangely to the news of her father's death. Remaining outwardly unperturbed, she calmly orders her subordinates to go clear the next secret area, then turns around and without further ado goes into the forest. The hunters continue to stand near the spatial portal, greatly surprised by her reaction. One of the men muses out loud that despite Margarita's ability to control lightning and the elements of fire, she fully lives up to her nickname, Frozen. Margarita, having heard the hunters' conversations, is clearly unhappy with their chatter and tells the men that if they have nothing better to do, she can easily transfer them to a correctional camp so that they do not waste their time. Recently, the rate of formation of secret areas on the front line has increased significantly, and only thanks to the prompt and well-coordinated work of the team under the leadership of Margarita, it is possible to control and destroy a large number of continuously forming secret areas. The girl approaches the spatial portal, intending to go to the next secret area for clearing. One of the subordinates decides that the girl will need help in this situation. The man believes that the party should support their captain by visiting the secret area together. Margarita turns sharply to the hunter and throws a piercing look at him, which instantly makes him freeze in place. The hunter, a little frightened by her reaction, tries to justify himself, telling the girl that he does not doubt her fighting abilities for a second, but is sincerely worried about her safety. The girl, without saying a word, turns around and with a slow, confident step begins to move towards the spatial portal, not paying attention to those around her. The hunter watches with alarm as powerful whirlwinds of energy gradually absorb his commander, hiding her figure in a bright stream of forces. The hunters discuss Margarita and come to the conclusion that the girl really has a very scary aura, which reminds them of the aura of a high-level monster. One of the hunters reflects that Captain Margarita is more like not a woman, but an insensitive monster who does not know pain and fear. Margarita moves to a secret area. She confidently walks along the shore of a huge underground lake, examining the surrounding area. Suddenly, her spear begins to flash with energy discharges, warning of the presence of foreign and dangerous energy nearby. Margarita adjusts the mask on her face, without showing any concern, remaining extremely calm and focused, and preparing for the upcoming battle with possible opponents. Suddenly, Margarita notices a large number of chopped monsters on the shore, which are piled in a heap. Margarita carefully examines the wounds of the monsters and comes to the conclusion that it was not a detachment that was acting here, but one person, which causes her great surprise. The girl is amazed that someone was able to secretly enter the secret area and cope with such a task alone. Suddenly, she hears a sharp sound, instantly takes a fighting stance and generates a powerful protective field around herself. The huge reptile quickly approaches, raising its massive sword to strike. Musk deftly jumps to the side, the monster's blow goes into the void, scattering stones and soil around. Margarita carefully watches as the stranger wages an unequal battle with a group of monsters that have emerged from an underground lake. She comes to the conclusion that, despite his low level, the young man has excellent combat characteristics, allowing him to fight against superior enemy forces. Margarita rushes to help the young man. She lands in front of the monsters and delivers a powerful blow with her magic spear. Margarita's technique is impeccable. In a short time, she manages to destroy more than half of the monsters. Deftly maneuvering and taking advantageous positions, the girl continues to attack huge monsters, hitting them with her precise and powerful blows. The monsters desperately attack Margarita, but she, using the perfect technique of wielding a spear, skillfully repels their attacks, destroying one after another. Margarita, with a cold and focused gaze, delivers a crushing blow, tearing the monster into pieces, her face remaining impassive despite the splashes of blood flying around. After several minutes of fierce battle, Margarita manages to destroy a group of monsters that emerged from the lake. Margarita turns towards Musk and asks the young man what his name is and what team he is from. Musk does not have time to answer her questions. His body begins to shake violently. He loses his last strength and falls to the ground unconscious. Margarita carefully examines the young man. The girl is surprised by his desperate act because he ended up in the dungeon completely alone, which seems incredibly risky to her. Margarita is very upset when she sees that Musk has fainted. The girl believed that he was worthy of her respect. But now she is starting to think that the guy will be another burden for her. Suddenly, a new group of monsters appears on the surface of the lake. Their eyes glow brightly with red light. They confidently move towards the people, preparing to attack. A group of massive shark-headed monsters emerge from the lake, their evil smiles and confident gaits making it clear that they intend to destroy everyone who stands in their way. Margarita looks at the monsters carefully. Her eyes are full of hatred for such creatures. The captain gets into a fighting stance, preparing to repel their attack, her magical spear flashing with a bright purple glow. At this moment, the image of her deceased father appears before her eyes. Her mind is filled with enormous anger and hatred. Margarita is sure that monsters deserve only one thing, death, and she is ready to do everything to destroy them to the last. Energy waves sparkle brightly around the girl, creating the impression of an indomitable force, ready to crush anyone who dares to approach. The space of the cave is illuminated with bright flashes of energy, and the sounds of battle are heard. The hunters stand near the spatial portal in complete silence, awaiting the arrival of their commander. One of the hunters looks at his watch. He is worried, since Captain Margarita should have already left the secret area. Suddenly, the dimensional portal is activated. The energy field emits a bright blue light and begins to move. The hunters carefully watch as Margarita emerges from the portal, carrying a stranger on her shoulder. The men immediately surround their commander. They are very interested in who the young man is, whom their commander carried out of the secret area. There are countless military camps scattered across the vast area of the front line, some of which can number several thousand people. Each military camp has specialized buildings where wounded professionals are treated. Musk is lying in a hospital bed. A doctor's voice is heard in the room, who reports that the young man's condition is stable, and now he is definitely not in danger. The doctor explains that the guy was seriously injured. All his organs were damaged in one way or another, and not every professional could survive with such injuries. Margarita is concerned that the main character is an unusual person who has the ability to quickly regenerate his body, which makes him unique and dangerous. The girl notices that a weak background of radiation is emanating from Musk's body, but this does not bother her at all, since for her, such doses are completely harmless and do not pose any threat. The doctor informs the girl that he is going to leave the young man in the hospital, since traces of radiation have been found in him, and a special room has been allocated for him. Suddenly, a man enters the room. He declares that Musk does not need to stay in the hospital. The man turns out to be the commander-in-chief of the military camp in which the main character is located. He walks inside and silently surveys the surprised people present, creating an atmosphere of tense anticipation. The commander-in-chief tells Margarita that the city of Dahi successfully repelled the attack of the Great Demon and is gradually recovering. The man proposes to honor the memory of the heroes who sacrificed themselves in the fight against the demon with a minute of silence. Then he tells Margarita that in that unequal battle, her father died with honor, fighting to the last. Margarita tries to remain calm, but in her eyes there is a deep sadness, which she tries to hide. The commander-in-chief says that death in battle is the best outcome for people like them. The man adds that her father made the right choice, and if he were in his place, he would have done the same. Saying goodbye, the commander-in-chief leaves the ward, leaving Margarita alone next to Musk's bed. Already on the threshold, he stops, turns, and invites the girl, when Musk wakes up, to ask him for some advice on how to fight. He notes that a person who can control this sword is truly special. Margarita instantly glances at the old sword standing by Musk's bed. The girl does not understand what could be special about this, at first glance, unremarkable weapon. Silently watching the departing commander-in-chief, the girl begins to suspect that the man knows who Musk really is. The main character suddenly wakes up. He instantly realizes that he is in a hospital room. A mixture of surprise and wariness is read in his gaze. The young man's gaze gradually becomes more focused. He begins to understand that, despite all the difficulties, he managed to survive. Margarita realizes that she can hardly stand the gaze of the main character. Notes of fear that she has never experienced before begin to arise in her soul. She tightly grips her battle spear and confidently approaches the young man's bed, trying to hide her inner doubts. Margarita is surprised to realize that Musk was the first person she was truly afraid of, and this feeling knocks her out of her usual equilibrium, making her think about who she actually encountered. Musk calmly asks for the IV to be removed, declaring that he no longer needs it, and surprises Margarita with his composure. The girl is amazed at how calmly he behaves, without even asking questions about where he is. Musk thanks the girl for saving her and, without hesitation, calls Margarita her pseudonym. Together they watch a news report on TV, which talks about Musk's sudden disappearance, which is seen as his irresponsibility. The man on the screen accuses Musk that, during the coming of the Great Demon, he should have been the first to appear and handle the situation, but did not. Margarita notices with undisguised pleasure how the government is clearly irritated by Musk's behavior. This makes her smile slightly. Margarita reflects that the government often shifts the blame onto others. She sees this only as a manifestation of their fear and uncertainty. She then informs Musk that he can stay in the hospital until his wounds are completely healed. Although the girl admits that Musk's abilities are impressive, she warns him that if he starts causing problems, she will not hesitate to break all his bones. Musk, remaining calm, replies that she won't be able to do it. Then he gives Margarita a stern look and confidently declares that he is too tough for her. Margarita, hearing Musk's words, feels irritation growing inside her. Her face expresses a mixture of resentment and anger, and a slight blush of anger appears on her cheeks. Margarita accepts Musk's challenge and with cold confidence invites him to spar as soon as he is fully recovered. She reports that she has no time for idle chatter, as she needs to go clear the next secret area. The girl goes out into the corridor, where her subordinates are already waiting for her. They immediately begin to ask questions about who the wounded guy is, whom she pulled out of the secret area. Hunters speculate, suggesting that Musk may be an acquaintance or even a relative of the commander-in-chief. Margarita says that she does not have any information about the stranger. She only gives the pseudonym that Musk used to introduce himself. The hunters watch their departing captain with some sadness and anxiety, realizing that the name they heard seems familiar to them. Perhaps they even heard it on TV. One of the hunters senses tension and irritation coming from their commander and tells his partner about it. At this moment, the doors of the chamber slowly open and Musk comes out, immediately attracting the attention of all the hunters present. The men, surrounding the guy, begin to ask questions about his well-being and his intentions, wanting to know where he is going. Musk's answer greatly surprises the hunters, as the guy calmly states that he is going to go to a secret area that few people know about. Musk feels a strange sensation and a strong discomfort caused by the fact that his heart is gradually merging with the heart of the Great Demon, which causes him serious concerns. The main character realizes that while he kills monsters, he can absorb their life energy and use it to heal his wounds. One of the hunters, looking warily at the guy, asks if he has a team, since without a team it is forbidden to enter the secret area. The hunters decide not to interfere with Musk, believing that there are many secret areas and that there is nothing wrong with the guy helping to clear one of them. In the corridor, the young people meet the commander-in-chief, who slowly approaches them, causing them some excitement. The hunters inform the commander-in-chief that visiting the secret area alone is a serious violation of the rules, which can lead to dangerous consequences. The commander-in-chief tells the young people that he is the commander of this camp and that this order comes directly from him. The hunters stop asking questions, emphasizing that they have no objections to the commander-in-chief's order. The man, coming closer to Musk, notices the colossal energy that the young man radiates. The commander-in-chief orders the hunters to split into two groups. One half will remain to work with their captain, and the second will move into the secret area with Musk. Margarita stands at the entrance to the military camp. Her gaze is focused and determined. She is completely ready to complete a new mission. Two of her subordinates suddenly run up to the captain. The girl asks the hunters where the rest of the team are. The hunters report that the commander-in-chief divided their squad into two groups and sent two fighters to help Musk, which causes Margarita sincere surprise. The girl is greatly struck by the fact that the main character decided to go clear the secret area immediately after waking up, without giving himself time to recover. Margarita believes that this is a senseless and unreasonable risk. She feels a little sorry for the guys who will go with Musk to the secret area. The captain, trying to remain objective, admits that she doesn't know the full situation and suggests that Musk may have her own motives. The hunters are trying to figure out how the main character can be connected with the commander-in-chief of the military base. Musk calmly replies to the surprised hunters that he is in no way related to the commander-in-chief, and the only thing that unites them is a common hatred of monsters. One of the hunters, wanting to start a conversation and defuse the situation, tells Musk about his captain, mentioning that the girl has the ability to control the element of lightning, and this unique skill is passed down in their family. The hunters share a story about the commander-in-chief. They say that, despite his poor eyesight, thanks to his heightened sense of smell and the ability to capture sound waves, he is able to see in pitch darkness even better than a bat. One of the hunters reports that the commander-in-chief is at rank 8, and for them to be under the command of such a powerful person is a great honor. After some time, the hunter adds that their commander-in-chief fought alongside Musk himself. The main character, having heard this, is immersed in memories of distant past times, when he commanded the army of reflection and fought on the front line. At that time, Musk had neither reputation nor fame. He led only 3,000 people, and together with them he went to the front line to fight monsters, which was the beginning of his great journey. Countless monsters continuously attacked the desperate brave men who stood up to defend civilization. They fought with superhuman strength and courage. Over time, people's pessimistic views began to change, and they realized that humanity is capable of fighting monsters and holding positions in mysterious lands where it previously seemed impossible to survive. The surviving members of the confrontation army have become powerful professionals, and thanks to their efforts, they have spread their bases throughout the mysterious lands, creating a stable defense system. Musk, along with the hunters accompanying him, approaches a huge spatial portal, which opens access to a secret area. The hunters reflect on their commander-in-chief. They are sure that he cannot make mistakes, and therefore decide to trust the young man, preparing to cover him in a secret area if necessary. However, to their surprise, Musk confidently declares that there is no need for this, since he will cope with all the tasks on his own. This causes confusion among the hunters. His answer surprises them. They consider such a statement arrogant, but decide not to answer, keeping their thoughts to themselves so as not to aggravate the situation. Musk passes through a dimensional portal and finds himself in a huge wild forest thicket. The main character takes a deep breath of fresh forest air and instantly realizes that this secret area is literally teeming with monsters. Dark energy begins to rapidly materialize around the guy, which instantly envelops his body, filling him with strength. In this forest, Musk can turn into a monstrous monster and begin to mercilessly destroy everyone who gets in his way. 4 huge black wolves with bright red glowing eyes emitting menacing dark energy suddenly appear in front of Musk. Musk comes out to meet the wolves, his figure clad in dark armor that shimmers with ominous red hues. The main character realizes that he has only 3 minutes during which he can control his monster state. Musk's body has not yet fully recovered from the severe injuries caused by the nuclear bomb, so he cannot remain in monster form for a long time. A pack of huge wolves, emitting an eerie growl, rushes at Musk, intending to tear him to pieces. The guy, without wasting a second, instantly attacks, cutting off the heads of the monsters with incredible speed with his combat sword. 3 minutes are quite sufficient for the main character to completely destroy a flock of aggressive monsters, leaving them no chance of survival. Tiny sparks of energy begin to sparkle around the bodies of defeated monsters, which gradually separate from their bodies and rise into the air. After a moment, the monsters' bodies completely disappear, entering an energy state, leaving behind only a faint energy trace. This energy slowly approaches the main character, who begins to absorb it, restoring his strength. The Great Demon Heart, embedded in the protagonist's monster form, has the ability to absorb the life energy of monsters. The energy from destroyed monsters allows the protagonist's body to be healed, and increases the amount of time Musk can remain in monster form. The hunters, waiting for the guy to return, assume that when they enter the secret area, they may find Musk already dead, since the chances of survival there are extremely low. One of the hunters expresses the opinion that the guy is probably at the entrance to the portal and is shaking all over with fear. Their thoughts are interrupted when the spatial portal begins to move, and the main character slowly emerges from it. They are very surprised that Musk left the secret area very quickly, and the time limit had not even expired. The men cannot believe that the young man was able to clear the secret area and deal with the main monster in such a short time. Musk states that the monsters he encountered were so weak that he couldn't even tell which one was in charge. The guy shows off huge fangs that he pulled out from wolves and says with a smile that they are perfect for creating knives or swords. The hunters cannot hide their surprise. Realizing that it only took the guy 17 minutes to clear the area, the young man completed the task faster than their own commander. One of the hunters realizes that Musk has set a new record and concludes that he is at least twice as strong as their captain, leading everyone to wonder about his true strength. Musk wastes no time calmly informing the hunters that they need to move on and heads to the next secret area. The men talk among themselves, noticing that the guy looks more like a monster than a man, which causes them mixed feelings and fears. After a short period of time, Musk clears the area and tells the hunters that they must head to the next one immediately. The main character clears the next secret area and with determination rushes to the next, driven by an irresistible desire to destroy monsters. The hunter carefully studies the tracks and tells Margarita that the gate has already closed, which indicates that someone managed to clear this secret area before their arrival. The man also adds that the tracks look very fresh, and probably very little time has passed since the cleanup was completed. Team Margarita reaches the place where another portal was located. One of the hunters reports that the same prints are visible on the ground, which means that the portal was cleared by the same group. The man cannot understand how this could happen. They are at the 5th closed portal, and it also turns out to be cleared. Margarita believes that there is nothing wrong with the fact that an unknown powerful group is helping to clear out secret areas. But she begins to worry about the mystery of what is happening. The girl decides that she simply must find out who managed to clear such a huge number of secret areas and dared to challenge her. When Margarita's team arrives at the military base, their eyes are drawn to a figure at the reception desk, who turns out to be Musk. She hears a conversation about how his group has cleared 17 areas today, which makes her deeply surprised. The administrator does not believe that the group really cleared 17 areas. He is distrustful of the hunter's words and demands proof. In response, the hunter shows a map and points out that the energy indicators of these areas have disappeared. The man at the front desk insists on providing proof that their group is responsible for clearing these areas. In response, the hunter takes out a huge bag and dumps a large number of artifacts and parts of killed monsters on the table. The administrator is shocked by the huge number of trophies and cannot hide his surprise. The hunter sarcastically teases the administrator. He says that sitting in the office pants, apparently, greatly affects his mental abilities. The man, although he does not blame the hunters, remains perplexed because even the commander-in-chief could not clear so many secret areas in just one day. The man points to Musk and says with admiration that in front of them is a high-class professional who is clearly a genius and deserves special respect. An impressed administrator offers the hunters a new task related to clearing a secret area of the 6th rank, which many professionals could not cope with before. Musk, having carefully studied the documents provided, calmly declares that it accepts this offer. The hunter, looking confidently at the administrator, says that this task will be completed, since Musk's strength is much higher than that of his captain. The administrator, coughing slightly, asks the hunter to look back, which causes him slight confusion. When the hunter turns around, he is surprised to notice Margarita standing behind him, whose face expresses undisguised anger and irritation. The hunter, realizing that he hurt Margarita's feelings, tries to soften the situation, asking her not to take his words to heart, and explains that he did not think about what he said at that moment. The subordinate informs Margarita that Musk has cleared the secret areas they intended to enter today, which leaves her feeling both surprised and irritated. The girl looks at Musk incredulously and asks if he really cleared all these areas, to which the young man calmly and confidently answers in the affirmative. Margarita begins to understand why the main character was so self-confident even when he was chained to his bed, and realizes that she underestimated his abilities. Musk does not understand how much longer the girl will continue to be offended by him, clearly feeling her hostility. Margarita, without wasting any time, turns to the administrator and says that she has heard about the 6th level area, and declares that she will also take this task. The girl proposes a dispute to the main character, declaring that she intends to find out who will be stronger and will be the first to kill the boss of the secret area. The hunter smiles and tells Musk that he managed to ignite the competitive spirit in his captain, which seemed to have died out long ago. Musk once again carefully looks through the documents about the secret area. At this moment, the guy begins to understand why the system chose this particular place and brought him here. The young man remembers another important thing that happened on the front line after the incident with the Great Demon. The hunter carefully peers at the main character. Suddenly, he is overcome by the realization that he has already seen this guy before. For a moment, it seems to the hunter that he was mistaken. However, looking again at the young man and his sword, he is finally convinced that he knows him. The hunter decides to share his discovery with the commander and tells him that the guy they saved in the secret area a few days ago is the same person who slaughtered an entire company in the city of Dohai. The commander-in-chief, trying to remain objective, believes that this may just be a coincidence, since the city of Dohai is very far from here. And besides, the criminal who carried out the massacre has already been detained by the security services. The hunter confidently states that he cannot be wrong and insists that this is indeed the same person. The hunter, still convinced that he was right, adds that at first he also doubted. The man followed the guy for days and came to the conclusion that although the young man's face had changed slightly, it exactly matched what was shown in the photographs. The man adds that he also recognized a sword that is completely identical to the one the criminal had. This finally convinces him of the correctness of his suspicions. The commander-in-chief, having considered what he heard, agrees that the hunter's words make sense and declares that he will immediately investigate. Hunter, with mixed feelings, believes that if Musk really turned out to be a bad guy, then he did the right thing by reporting it. Team Margarita is located near a huge spatial portal that leads to a secret area on the 6th level. The hunters, full of determination, ask their captain to take them with him, claiming that they must join her on this mission since they can no longer afford to hide behind her back forever. Margarita fears that her subordinates will not be able to bring real benefits in battle and will only become a burden for her. This causes her internal anxiety. Her spear flares with purple energy, and she begins to slowly move towards the dimensional portal. Turning to her subordinates, Margarita suddenly orders them not to lag behind, her decision causing joy among the hunters who have long been waiting for the opportunity to prove themselves in battle. The captain warns the hunters that the upcoming battle concerns only her and Musk. She categorically forbids them to interfere, making it clear that this is her personal confrontation. Musk, with a serious expression on his face, looks forward, his gaze reflecting determination and inner focus before an important battle. The hunter, who recognized Musk, is very worried because despite the fact that yesterday the commander-in-chief promised to start an investigation, there are still no results. The man understands that he will have to act on his own. He decides not to waste time and plunges into the spatial portal. A squad of hunters finds themselves in a huge, dark, underground tunnel. Every movement echoes, creating an atmosphere of tension and danger. One of the hunters activates his tracker skills and begins to carefully scan the surrounding area, trying to detect possible threats. The man reports that the temperature is normal, the air is not contaminated and is breathable, which calms the others a little. The hunters realize that fighting monsters in such a confined space can lead to catastrophic consequences, and this makes them worry. Looking carefully into the depths of the tunnel, the hunters begin to feel the movement of air masses and hear a strange noise that is gradually approaching them. A moment later, they notice the red lights of the monster's eyes glowing in the darkness, getting closer and closer, confirming their worst fears. The hunters are struggling to cope with the horror that has gripped them, as they did not expect that the number of monsters would be so huge. Suddenly, a deafening roar is heard. A huge mass of monsters resembling crocodiles begins to rapidly move towards them. Margarita takes a few steps forward, takes a fighting stance, and activates her combat spear, which instantly flashes with dazzling flashes of energy, illuminating the tunnel. Huge monsters, increasing their speed, continue to approach, not giving the hunters time to think. Margarita concentrates lightning energy around herself, preparing to unleash a powerful energy strike to stop the oncoming threat and protect her team. Margarita fires lightning energy from her spear, sending a powerful bolt forward that rushes towards the approaching monsters with stunning speed. A huge explosion occurs. A flash of bright light instantly illuminates the entire space in the tunnel, turning it for an instant into a dazzling battlefield. When the light dissipates, only small, weak discharges of energy remain in the air, which gradually fade away. The hunter watches in amazement at the ability of his captain. Realizing that with just one blow Margarita was able to destroy a huge number of monsters, this arouses his admiration. Margarita believes that this is not surprising, since the monsters lined up in one line, which made the task much easier. Hunter sarcastically addresses Musk, saying that their captain intends to give it her all, and defeating her in an argument will be quite a difficult task. Musk, in turn, finds it strange that his new acquaintances are constantly competing in the number of killed monsters and their bosses. The voice of one of the hunters is heard, who reports that they have been moving for more than 10 minutes, and there is still no second wave of monsters. This seems suspicious to him. Margarita stops abruptly and begins to listen to the oppressive silence, suddenly remembering that in this secret area, they had lost contact with two teams of hunters. The subordinate speculates that the hunter groups may have died fighting the first wave of crocodiles, but is confused by the fact that they did not find any remains of bodies, weapons, or items. Musk interrupts the hunters' conversation, warily asking if they heard anything unusual. One of the hunters approaches the tunnel wall, presses his ear to the cold surface, and tries to catch subtle noises that may indicate the approach of a new threat. Realizing that danger is close, the young people immediately take fighting stances, realizing that a second wave of monsters is moving towards them. Suddenly, a wave of strong vibration runs along the walls of the tunnel, causing fine sand to fall off the roof. From the depths of the tunnel, an eerie, inhuman scream comes to the hunters, which echoes and intensifies the feeling of impending horror. From the depths of the tunnel, a giant monster with fiery red eyes and huge fangs suddenly crawls out towards the hunters. It emits a terrifying roar that fills the entire space around. The hunters see how a huge monster is blocking the entire tunnel. They are at a loss as to how they can even fight such a giant. Margarita notices the strange behavior of her subordinates and does not understand why they are so afraid. Suddenly, the girl realizes that a powerful aura of fear emanates from the monster, with the help of which he influences his victims, paralyzing their will. The captain concentrates an energy field around his spear and with cold determination declares that such cheap tricks have no effect on her. Margarita, gathering all her will into a fist, fearlessly rushes to attack the approaching huge monster. Musk suddenly stops his movement. Feeling inexplicably uneasy, the guy tries to understand what exactly attracted his attention. He decisively raises his sword and thrusts it into the concrete floor with great force, causing confusion among everyone. At this time, Margarita comes close to the huge monster and releases a powerful bolt of lightning from her spear, which strikes the monster. The girl walks around the monster, jumps in the air, and delivers a series of powerful blows to the monster's head, trying to inflict maximum damage. Margarita, watching Musk's actions, does not understand why the guy stuck his sword into the floor. She continues to watch in amazement as Musk, using all his strength, continues to push the sword up to the hilt into the dense concrete floor of the tunnel. Musk continues to push his sword into the floor. The surface begins to move, vibrations instantly spread in all directions, creating powerful waves. Suddenly, another monster jumps out from under the ground, which forcefully throws Musk to the side, its body flying several meters away. The huge body of the monster roars loudly and falls to the ground. A deep wound from the Musk sword is visible on its head. In front of Musk lies a defeated giant monster with a huge wound on its head. The monster's body is motionless. A cloud of dust rises around it. Musk is deeply disappointed that he is not alone in this secret area, because if the guy came here alone, he could easily absorb all the opponents in monster mode. The hunters were surprised by the cunning tactics of the monsters. While one attracted their attention, the second quietly tried to attack from underground, which became an unpleasant surprise for them. One of the men thanks Musk and notes that if the guy had not killed the second monster, then they would all have ended up in his stomach. Margarita, jumping from the defeated monster, asks Musk how he managed to guess that the second monster was approaching. The girl was completely focused on the battle with her monster, and if the main character had not discovered and killed the second monster, her subordinates would no longer be alive. Musk informs the captain that he learned about the second monster thanks to the vibrations he picked up during the battle. The hunter, who has sensory abilities, finds this strange since he was close to Musk, but did not feel anything himself. The man looks at Musk with disbelief, considering it incredible that in the midst of a battle, with a lot of noise and vibrations, the guy was able to determine the location of the monster and accurately hit its weak spot. Musk realizes that he has no way yet to explain this without shocking the hunters, and chooses to remain silent about his abilities. The hunters, without hiding their joy, inform the captain that their team has destroyed 2 bosses. Margarita calmly explains to her subordinates that they are mistaken, and the defeated monsters were not bosses. The girl points out that the chest with the reward has not yet appeared, and the teleport gate has not opened, as usually happens after defeating the boss. One of the hunters begins to get very nervous. He realizes that if these powerful monsters were not bosses, then something much more terrible awaits them ahead. The hunters stand in front of a huge defeated monster and look at its massive body covered with wounds. The captain orders his subordinates to stay close and not to lag behind. She warns that walking alone in this tunnel is too dangerous, and even the slightest mistake can cost your life. Hunters sadly realize that they are of little use in the level 6 secret area and are a burden to their commander. Margarita understands how her subordinates feel. She calms them down and says that everything is fine and that they are one team. A group of young people approach a huge metal gate blocking an underground tunnel. The hunters believe that the boss of this secret area is most likely located behind this massive gate. Margarita informs the hunters that she and Musk will enter the gate and orders her subordinates to stay here to avoid unnecessary risk. The hunters ask Margarita to be careful and say that they will eagerly await her return. Margarita and Musk firmly grasp the handles of the locking mechanism, knowing that these gates open only from the synchronized movement of the locks, and begin to jointly open it. A sharp metallic sound is heard in the air. The huge gates begin to slowly move, giving access to the interior. Young people open the gate and slowly go inside, warily listening to every rustle. As soon as Margarita and Musk are inside, the gate falls down with great speed, blocking them and cutting off their escape route. They carefully and slowly move forward, listening to every sound, realizing that something extremely dangerous could be hiding in this room. After some time, Musk begins to feel the approaching steps of the monster, which become more and more obvious. Margarita also hears light footsteps and makes the assumption that they will encounter a very dangerous monster, who may be the main boss of this secret area. A huge monster with a powerful physique and fiery red eyes emitting ominous energy appears in front of Margarita and Musk. The girl sees that a humanoid monster is standing in front of them. She instantly remembers an important rule. The more monsters resemble people, the more dangerous they are. The monster looks attentively at the young people but does not dare to attack. Its powerful body remains motionless. Only loud growls are heard that echo from the walls. Margarita carefully examines the monster. She understands that this species is capable of accumulating an incredible amount of power, which makes it an extremely dangerous opponent. Margarita generates a powerful energy field around her spear and delivers a crushing blow, hoping for a quick victory. Musk admires the girl's technique, noting that her spear's speed likely exceeds the speed of sound, making her attacks lightning fast. However, despite this incredible speed, the monster manages to react and grabs the tip of the spear with its scaly paw, demonstrating reflexes that Margarita clearly did not expect to see. The girl cannot hide her surprise at such a quick reaction from the monster. She understands that she is faced with a serious opponent. The next moment, the monster throws the girl to the ground and holds her spear tightly. Margarita, despite the fall, manages to get an energy pistol and instantly points it towards the monster. A slight whirring of electric drives is heard, and the gun begins to accumulate a deadly magnetic field. The next moment, a bright flash of light momentarily illuminates the entire surrounding space. A deadly magnetic field erupts from Margarita's pistol and is directed at incredible speed straight to the monster's head. When the smoke finally clears, the girl is convinced that her shot was accurate, as the magnetic field incinerated part of the monster's head, causing fatal damage. Musk silently watches the girl and the defeated monster lying on the ground. His gaze remains calm and focused. Musk considers such an attack too risky. He asks the girl if she always fights, thus risking her life. Margarita, with confidence in her voice, replies that nothing great can be achieved without putting your own life on the line. The young people begin to carefully examine the body of the destroyed monster and are surprised to notice that there is a person inside it. Margarita peers closely at the face of the man inside the monster and realizes with horror that this is the commander of the missing squad of hunters. She tells Musk that the man was a military man from their camp, a rank 6 professional, and he used to have his own team. Margarita believes that the secret area they are in is very strange and full of creepy secrets. This makes her anxious. The young people notice that a group of monsters are starting to approach them, which makes them immediately prepare for battle and focus on the upcoming fight. Margarita quietly says that she will take on the monsters that are on the left. Musk says that she will take care of everyone else. The monsters, realizing that they have been noticed, begin to growl terribly and switch from a slow step to a fast run. Margarita activates her battle spear and wastes no time fearlessly charging into the attack, showing her determination. Leaping high into the air, the girl raises her spear to deliver a powerful blow. She directs all her strength at the approaching monsters. A powerful energy field crashes into a dense pile of monsters, scattering the monsters around with incredible force. The energy emanating from Margarita's spear hits multiple monsters at once, tearing apart their bodies and throwing them back with incredible force. Margarita is dangerously close to the monster, who is creeping up behind her and is preparing to strike. Margarita notices the monster's attack in time and reacts with lightning speed, using her spear to block the huge paw that is heading towards her. The girl deftly twirls her spear, creating a vortex of energy around herself, and intends to counterattack the monster, preparing to deal him a crushing blow. Margarita delivers a powerful blow with her spear, piercing the monster. Energy discharges spread throughout the monster's body, tearing it from the inside. The captain realizes that after monsters consume people, their powers increase significantly, making them much more dangerous. She recalls that once, due to a lack of intelligence, these monsters were harmless creatures, but now they pose a serious threat. Musk deftly uses his sword. The guy moves forward, and with lightning strikes chops off the heads of the monsters attacking him. Suddenly, a huge monster appears behind him, intending to take advantage of the moment of surprise and deliver a fatal blow. However, Musk notices the enemy in time and instantly reacts, delivering a powerful blow and cutting the monster in half. With incredible speed, he continues to move forward, cutting the attacking monsters into small pieces, leaving them no chance of survival. After a short but intense fight, the young people manage to destroy the group of monsters that attacked them. Margarita, having examined the bodies of the defeated monsters, reports that all of them were once professionals who came here before them with the aim of clearing the secret area. The girl is lost in thought, and then admits that she still cannot understand one thing that causes her deep concern. Musk asks the girl what exactly she cannot understand. The guy tries to find out what causes her doubts and anxiety. The young people notice two surviving monsters who stand aside and do not dare to attack. Suddenly, the monsters turn around and begin to stare at the huge statues behind them, as if expecting something. Suddenly, the huge monsters fall to their knees and begin to frantically pray in front of the statues. Margarita realizes that they are standing in front of the altar. She understands that the monsters have begun to pray in order to summon some force that can be even more dangerous and destructive. Suddenly, the central statue begins to move, emitting a blood-red aura that fills the entire space around it. Margarita looks at the scene in front of her with surprise and alarm. Her eyes wide, she is clearly tense, realizing that their opponents may be much stronger than they imagined. The girl admits that just one look at the bloody red aura makes her forget how to breathe. The horror emanating from this ominous energy is so strong. Margarita understands that the monsters cannot continue to offer their prayers. Otherwise, it is unknown what powerful force may appear. With these thoughts, she throws her spear at the monsters. The spear pierces two crocodile-like monsters at great speed, instantly destroying them and interrupting their ritual, preventing them from completing their dark plans. The monsters' bodies slowly settle to the ground as energy begins to dissipate around them, clearly indicating that their ritual has been interrupted. The central pillar continues to emit a bright red aura, and two huge eyes appear above it, carefully observing what is happening. The dead monsters begin to sink into dense, bright red energy, which slowly absorbs their bodies. The girl gets the feeling that this energy is trying to absorb their entire essence. Margarita thinks about who the monsters were going to call and whose strange eyes were looking at them. Musk knows that the eyes belong to the demonic god living in the darkness, and the only thing the demonic god looked at was Musk. The guy is ready to accept a challenge from his old acquaintance, realizing that a dangerous collision awaits him ahead. The team of hunters emerges from the spatial portal. Their subordinates are happy to notice that their captain is alive and well. The hunters rejoice in the knowledge that they have cleared the secret area of the 6th level that other teams could not. And this success brings them a sense of pride. Margarita, realizing the importance of what happened, intends to return to the camp as quickly as possible in order to personally report what happened to the commander-in-chief. The captain's condition causes great concern among the hunters, as they see that the girl is clearly alarmed by something. Suddenly, they hear the voice of the commander-in-chief, who says that there is no need to return to the camp since he has already arrived here in person. One of the hunters cannot contain his joy, realizing that the commander-in-chief appeared just in time and exactly at the moment when it was most needed. The commander-in-chief did not come alone. He is surrounded by a platoon of well-armed police special forces. This causes alarm among the hunters. One of the hunters wonders why the commander-in-chief arrived with an armed group of law enforcement officers. The man asks the hunters not to worry and assures them that this matter does not concern them, thereby trying to calm the group of hunters. He then turns to Musk and states that everything that is happening has a lot to do with him. The man asks Musk if it would be better to call him the Butcher from the city of Dahe, which shocks Margarita and her team. Those present are surprised by this unexpected news, but one of the hunters cannot contain his joy, realizing that the commander has indeed begun an investigation. The hunters begin to actively discuss the news, trying to understand the situation, but cannot come to a consensus. Some are convinced that Musk is indeed a criminal, while others believe that he is not involved in the massacre in the city of Dahe. The hunter firmly states that there can be no mistake, since he personally observed Musk, compared all the facts, and although he does not know how the young man ended up here, he has no doubt that Musk is a criminal. Margarita is very surprised that the hunter has been secretly watching Musk all this time and transmitting information to the commander-in-chief. Musk is also surprised by the hunter's behavior, but despite this, the guy remains extremely calm and does not show any emotions. He informs the commander-in-chief that he is indeed involved in the incident in the city of Dak, thereby confirming the suspicions. The hunter cannot hide his joy and proudly declares that he did not doubt his version for a minute. Musk believes that the commander-in-chief intends to arrest him and send him to the City of Stars. The officer explains that according to Federation law, all fugitives from justice must be apprehended no matter where they are found. However, he believes that the best place for Musk is Camp Redemption. The commander-in-chief believes that sending Musk to prison will not do any good, and that he can be much more useful on the front line than in captivity. The officer believes that the young man's talent will be indispensable in the fight against monsters, and believes that in battle, Musk will be able to atone for his guilt with blood. The police, somewhat surprised by the decision of the commander-in-chief, are awaiting his final decision. The commander-in-chief turns to Musk. He says that he does not consider him a bad person and admits that if he were in his place, he might have made a similar choice. The man expresses the opinion that if there were more people like Musk in society, then civilization would change for the better. Looking at Musk, he expresses hope that one day the era of human civilization will flourish thanks to people like him. Concluding the conversation, the commander-in-chief emphasizes that this is the end of the questions and does not want anyone to raise this topic in the future. He strongly hopes for the understanding of his subordinates and police officers, considering his decision final and fair. Margarita asks the commander-in-chief if she can ask him a question. The hunters are watching their captain. They believe that the girl encountered something strange in the secret area, since they have never seen her so nervous. The hunter really wants to know what exactly happened in the secret area, but he does not dare to approach Musk, feeling internal tension and fearing the possible consequences of such a conversation. Margarita tells the commander-in-chief that they discovered an altar in a secret area. The girl does not understand why the monsters prayed to it. The man tells Margarita that in the dungeon they met with the demonic god. The girl is very surprised, as she did not even suspect that monsters could have their own deity, which calls into question her previous ideas about the world of monsters. The man says that there are many teams on the front line who kill monsters in secret areas every day. He asks Margarita if she knows why there are still not enough monsters. The commander-in-chief turns to Margarita and explains that the reason for what is happening is the source that feeds all this evil. He reports that no matter how many secret areas the military clears, as long as the source exists, new areas will always appear. Margarita anxiously asks where exactly this source is and why it has not yet been destroyed. The commander-in-chief pauses, then replies that the source of the secret areas is the demonic god himself. Margarita realizes with horror that the secret areas that the military spends so much effort clearing are only a weak reflection of the true power of evil forces. The commander-in-chief tries to calm the girl down, saying that the number of gods who died at the hands of people is already in the dozens. Margarita comes to the realization that there is only one person capable of killing the demonic god, and that person is Musk. The man tells Margarita that the altar she found may indicate that the monsters are preparing for an uprising, and if they are not dealt with soon, a breakthrough will occur. He explains that the appearance of an altar often means the awakening of a demonic god, and if a breakthrough occurs, even stable secret areas will be overrun by monsters that will begin to destroy everything around them. Margarita reflects on the enormous cost the military has provided for stability, and now that Musk is no longer around, she cannot imagine the losses the military will suffer. The commander-in-chief asks Margarita to temporarily stop clearing the secret areas, saying that he is going to write several letters and asks her to personally deliver them to other military camps. The man warns that this time dealing with the looming monster threat will be much more difficult than they could have expected. He also invites Margarita to take advantage of the situation to take a little break, since he believes that daily work could one day destroy her if she does not save her strength. The commander-in-chief invites Margarita to take Musk with her. He wants the guy to be nearby while she delivers letters. Realizing that Musk's identity has been revealed, the officer suggests changing his appearance so that he can safely be among the hunters. The commander-in-chief silently looks at Musk and orders Margarita to prepare a mask for him to hide his face. A huge armored train rushes at full speed through the sun-scorched desert. Inside the Margarita train, together with her team, the hunters play cards happily, enjoying a rare moment of relaxation, while the girl herself is immersed in meditation. Musk sits silently, leaning against the wall of the carriage. He is immersed in thoughts about the current situation and further actions, considering every step. One of the hunters asks Musk what his impressions of the armored train are, believing that this is the young man's first experience of traveling in such a vehicle. The hunter says that, despite its strange appearance and quiet speed, the armored train is the most reliable vehicle on this piece of land. Hunters say that the armored train is capable of overcoming any obstacles, be it rocks or dense forests, and even if there is no road ahead, it will pave it with its powerful body. The man reports that, according to calculations, they should soon reach military camp number 2, He does not understand why they needed to send people to deliver letters if they could just use a walkie-talkie. One of the hunters suggests that the letters may contain secret documents, and sending them through open communication channels could be too risky. Suddenly, the hunters hear strange loud noises coming from the starboard side of the armored train, which alarms them and makes them wary. One of the hunters peers warily out the window, trying to understand what is happening outside. His concern is transmitted to another hunter, who carefully watches his reaction. Suddenly, a military SUV appears in the desert, rushing through the sands at full speed, raising clouds of dust behind it. The hunter quickly takes the place of the shooter and points the machine gun towards the approaching car. The hunters begin to discuss who might be in the car, suggesting that it could be a squad from military camp number 2. They wonder what they are doing in the desert. If you do not clear the secret area within a certain time, the monsters imprisoned inside will break the seal and break out. This rule applies everywhere, from the front line to the places where people live. The military SUV continues to rush through the desert, raising clouds of dust. The soldiers inside are intensely peering ahead. One of the soldiers standing on the roof of the car draws his bow, preparing to shoot, his gaze focused and intense. Dark, angry wolves with bright red eyes rush towards the military. One of them falls, struck by a precise shot from the shooter, who pierces his skull with an arrow. One of the wolves falls to the ground, hit by an arrow right in the back. The rest continue their run, their burning red eyes full of rage and lust for murder. The military man curses his superiors, indignant that a huge number of monsters have broken out, and the leadership is not even aware of what is happening. The fighter notices with horror that he has run out of arrows, and panic seizes him as monsters of the 4th level continue to pursue them. The archer sees with horror how a huge monster is rapidly approaching their car. He realizes that there is less and less time left for salvation. A huge monster quickly rushes at the soldier, who, without having time to react, finds himself in the face of mortal danger. He understands that there is almost no chance of salvation. A bright projectile rushes towards the monster like a flaming arrow, ready to pierce its target with incredible force. The projectile crashes into the target, causing a powerful explosion that destroys the monster in the blink of an eye. The archer cannot hide his surprise at what happened, suggesting that this is the work of reinforcements, which finally arrive to their aid at the most necessary moment. The driver reports that the fire is coming from an armored train which is located nearby. Intense shooting continues from the armored train. Powerful shells fly out of the barrel one after another, heading towards the targets. The wheels of a military SUV suddenly explode when hit by bullets, sparks and fragments fly around, and the military loses control of the vehicle. The SUV loses control after being hit, putting the soldiers in danger as the vehicle begins to overturn. The soldier is unable to understand what is happening. His face is distorted with a grimace of fear and confusion. He understands that the situation is getting out of control. A giant monster furiously attacks the military, who were left defenseless after their car crashed, quickly approaching the frightened soldiers. The monster lands with a crash next to the overturned car, raising clouds of sand and dust into the air. It turns sharply towards the military and lets out a deafening, hellish scream. A burst from a machine gun accurately hits the huge monster, blowing off its head and scattering the remains of its body in different directions. The soldiers of the second camp are hiding behind their overturned car, trying to hide from the approaching threat. The soldiers have been wounded and are completely out of ammunition, leaving them unable to hold off the enemy. The young soldier, despite his despair, hopes that the people from the armored train will have time to come to the rescue. A huge armored train rushes towards the trapped military, raising clouds of dust around it. Margarita and Musk, wasting no time, jump out of the moving armored train and fearlessly rush to attack a huge group of approaching monsters. The military man shouts at the young men to stay away from the monsters, warning them that there are too many of them and they will not be able to cope with so many enemies. The military man is greatly surprised by the dexterity and skill with which the Margarita team enters the battle. Margarita delivers a series of powerful blows with her spear, causing many severed monster heads to fly into the air. Margarita and her team fight with many monsters. Each of the fighters demonstrates their skill and strength in battle. The energy streaks from their blows fill the battlefield, creating an incredible spectacle. Margarita fights several monsters at the same time. Her spear pierces opponents with incredible speed and accuracy. Monsters, despite their ferocity, cannot resist her power. Musk delivers a powerful strike with his sword, his movements fast and precise, scattering the remains of the monsters he just hit around him. The soldier is amazed at how professionally the hunters destroy monsters. His surprise is clearly visible on his face. because he did not expect to see such incredible efficiency and skill in battle. The captain, with incredible strength, directs her spear forward. She releases a dazzling flash of bright energy, which, like lightning, cuts through the air and hits monsters with incredible speed. Margarita orders her subordinates to carry the wounded soldiers onto the train and warns them to be careful when collecting artifacts and useful parts from the killed monsters. The hunters immediately begin to carry out the orders of their captain, acting harmoniously and efficiently, like a single mechanism. The soldiers who were saved from death sincerely thank the hunters for their help, recognizing that the warriors from Camp Number 1 are deservedly considered the best. One of the hunters asks the wounded how they realized that their saviors were from Camp Number 1. The military explains that they heard about a captain girl who can control lightning. The hunters tell the military that in their squad, in addition to the commander, there is another fighter with the same strength. The man proudly announces that this powerful fighter is next to them and gestures towards Musk. The hunters report that no one knows about Musk yet, since he recently joined their squad. The military has not heard of his exploits, but they hope that the guy will soon become as famous as the captain of the hunters. Margarita asks the military what exactly their group was doing and why they were being pursued by so many monsters. The military man replies that their team was carrying out orders to clear secret areas in the controlled territory, and they did not expect to encounter so many monsters. Margarita learns from the military that in many secret areas in this zone, the containment seals were destroyed, which led to a massive breakthrough of monsters. Margarita believes that such events may indicate an impending major monster breakthrough, which requires immediate action. The girl intends to get to military camp number 2 as quickly as possible, realizing the seriousness of the situation and the possible consequences of delay. Military Camp 2 is one of the largest and most fortified outposts in the vast, lifeless desert. The guard standing on the outer wall of the military camp is constantly monitoring the surrounding area. One of the soldiers tells his partner that over the past few days, many teams have left the camp, but only a few have returned. The partner suggests that the teams may have decided to spend more time clearing secret areas and believes that there is no need to panic yet. The military man carefully examines the surroundings. His attention is attracted by strange movements on the horizon, which causes him anxiety. He sees an armored train rushing towards the camp at great speed, raising huge clouds of sandy dust behind it. The military man quickly takes out signal flags and gives the command to the train to slow down and stop for inspection. However, the train completely ignores the signalman's commands and crashes into the outer wall of the military camp at great speed. The train has destroyed a wall and turned over on its side, with broken rocks strewn around it and smoke rising from underneath its hull. The military quickly runs up to the overturned train cars and inspects them in surprise. The doors of one of the carriages suddenly open and a wounded man falls out, falling right in front of the stunned military. The military carefully examines the man lying in front of them and understands that he is a professional. Suddenly, the grinding sound of an opening hatch is heard, and a huge monster appears from the next carriage, inspiring horror with its appearance. In front of the military stands a huge humanoid monster with a powerful physique. His huge green eyes are full of hatred for people. The doors of the armored train carriages swing open, and a multitude of huge aggressive insects fly out. A huge cloud of insects is rapidly approaching the shocked military. The insects attack the military with incredible speed, mercilessly tearing them apart with their powerful jaws. One of the soldiers, armed with a machine gun, desperately opens fire on the endless stream of attacking insects. A myriad of insects descend upon the military camp, consuming everything in its path like a living, deadly cloud. The military camp is engulfed in flames. Insects are circling above it, destroying everything around and mercilessly destroying defenseless people. The leader of the insects looks at the destroyed military base, his green eyes shining coldly in the light of the blazing fire. The huge green eyes of the main monster reflect the picture of a destroyed and burning military base. At this moment, the monster feels its absolute power over people. The mighty armored train confidently cuts through the sand dunes, heading towards military camp number 2. Inside the giant vehicle is the Margarita team. The military man, having barely heard the news of a possible attack by monsters on the camp, has difficulty hiding his emotions, realizing how dangerous this threat is. He confidently tells the girl that monsters would never dare attack a military camp, since their numbers are too small to pose a real threat to a well-fortified base. Margarita, despite the confidence in the military man's voice, doubts deep down, but tries not to show her fears and anxieties. She muses that if there is indeed a significant influx of monsters in the area, then the likelihood of an attack on the camp increases, which should not be surprising given the creature's desire for chaos and destruction. The armored train, without slowing down, continues its movement towards military camp number 2. Ominous traces of a recent fire appear on the horizon. The military immediately goes up to the windows to get a better look at what is happening, and what they see causes them shock and bewilderment. They cannot believe that a well-protected camp could be attacked by monsters. At this moment, the excited voice of an operator from the second military camp is heard over the radio station, who reports that they are currently under attack by monsters and are in an extremely difficult situation. The horror intensifies when one of the military men announces with a trembling voice that the commander of the 7th rank, one of the most experienced and respected officers, was killed in a fight with these terrifying creatures. The hunters realize the gravity of the current situation. Their faces show not only determination, but also deep sadness caused by the loss of the military camp and the death of their comrades. Margarita, in a quiet and restrained voice, informs the team that military camp number 2 has fallen, which plunges everyone present into gloomy silence. Despite this tragic news, she firmly orders not to change course and continue moving towards the camp, although everyone is aware of the danger that may await them. One of his subordinates tries to persuade Margarita not to take risks and avoid visiting the destroyed camp, fearing that their squad could be destroyed because no one knows what terrible monsters may live there. The military man is furious and curses the federal authorities, remembering how calm everything was when Musk was in this zone. The hunter speculates that the monsters may have learned that Musk is no longer there, and that is what prompted them to attack. The hunters realize the severity of the situation in which they find themselves. They understand that serious trials await them ahead, and they are preparing for the upcoming battle. One of the hunters notices that everyone is on edge and understands that they need to somehow defuse the situation. The hunter says that in their unit there is a man who wears a mask and is very similar in physique to Musk. Hunters and military men begin to carefully examine the young man, noting with surprise his resemblance to Musk. One of the hunters voices the idea that perhaps after Musk gave up his hero status, he could go undercover. Musk casts a piercing glance at the people around him and calmly declares that he really is that Musk. The hunters perceive the guy's words with disbelief, believing that he is just joking with them. They do not believe that the legendary Musk is really standing in front of them, and perceive his statement as an absurd attempt to defuse the situation. The hunters and military men continue to perceive the situation as a joke. They start fooling around and, laughing, ask Musk to give them an autograph. Margarita carefully watches the main character and thinks about whether he is really who he says he is. The girl understands that in the near future everything will become clear. Her gaze switches to a huge colony of insects that circles above the destroyed facility. She finds it hard to believe that these creatures were able to destroy military camp number 2. Suddenly, she notices a large group of people approaching the train, screaming in panic and asking for help, pursued by a dense mass of insects. People have very little time left to get to the train, but deadly insects are almost overtaking them. The hunters resolutely exit the armored train. At the same moment, a dense cloud of insects begins to rapidly approach them. Margarita, without wasting any time, takes out a pistol and fires several precise shots towards the approaching deadly locusts. The magnetic fields created by her weapons effectively destroy insects that approach the armored train, turning them into dust before they even reach their target. Margarita activates her combat spear and raises it behind her back, preparing for a powerful throw. Suddenly, the girl twists her ankle and almost loses her balance. At the last moment, with an effort of will, she restores her balance and, with incredible speed, points her spear into the sky. The combat spear, soaring upward with enormous force, cuts huge insects into pieces, destroying them in its path. The Margarita spear continues its path with great speed, leaving behind a shining trail of energy, clouds of insects rapidly thinning out under the power of this weapon, turning from a threatening swarm into scattered parts. The spear reaches its peak point. At this moment, a powerful explosion occurs. A blinding light illuminates the entire sky and destroys a huge number of evil insects. Broken insect parts fall from the sky, surrounded by the remnants of energy left over from the massive explosion. Everything that was once a threat now turns to dust, slowly falling to the ground. The remaining insects, realizing that their chances of winning have disappeared, turn around and fly away, leaving a void behind them. A group of survivors stops running. Unable to contain their joy, they can hardly believe that they are alive. The people who survived this horror sincerely thank the hunters for their salvation. They say that if not for their intervention, the evil creatures would have destroyed them long ago. Margarita asks the military what happened in camp number 2. One of the military, with a gloomy expression on his face, replies that the camp is completely destroyed and ground into dust. He strongly advises the hunters not to move there. He adds that no one survived, and now this territory belongs to monsters. The military man says that the commander was killed by a huge creature of a humanoid appearance, which was more than 3 meters tall, and its power was unimaginable. The military man persistently dissuades the hunters from going to the captured camp, considering it a suicidal mission. Margarita carefully examines the surviving military men. She begins to have doubts, becomes wary, and looks at them with distrust. Suddenly, without giving anyone time to react, Margarita raises her combat spear and points its tip straight at the face of one of the surviving military men. The hunters are shocked and do not understand what is happening. They are confused and ask their captain what the hell she is doing. Margarita calmly but confidently tells the hunters that these are not soldiers but prisoners who escaped from the camp. The faces of the military instantly change. They look shocked and frightened. A mixture of horror and panic is read in their eyes, because now they understand that their plan has failed, and further actions can lead to immediate punishment. One of the hunters, seeing the tense situation, asks Margarita to stop, claiming that now it does not matter because they are all working for the common survival. However, Margarita does not pay attention to his words. The girl firmly states that these people killed the professionals who accompanied the civilians. The girl also notices that the fake military has a whole arsenal of weapons, but they don't even know how to hold them correctly, which only confirms her suspicions. The captain reveals that the fake military took the weapons belonging to the professionals they killed and are now using them for their own purposes. Margarita points her spear at the wound on the ear of one of the men and says that he received it when he killed the professionals. Realizing that they have been exposed, the escaped criminals rush at the hunters in a rage, deciding to use force to save themselves. Margarita strikes with lightning speed with her combat spear, instantly cutting off the heads of the attacking criminals. The third criminal, gripped by horror, turns around and tries with all his might to escape as quickly as possible. The criminal, overcome by desperation, intends to take the surviving civilians hostage, hoping to use them as a shield in an attempt to avoid inevitable punishment. Musk reacts instantly and decapitates him with a well-aimed throw of his sword. The body of the criminal falls to the ground with a roar, raising a cloud of dust. The civilians standing nearby froze in anticipation and do not move. They are gripped by fear. One of the hunters standing next to Margarita says that from the very beginning he doubted these people since he does not remember such military men being in the camp. The hunter asks the captain if they will move towards the destroyed camp, to which Margarita replies that this is not necessary because they already know everything that happened and that everyone in the camp is already dead. The hunter reports that they have a serious problem. Due to the fact that the armored train was moving at full speed, the power plant was out of order. At this point, one of the girls in the group of civilians raises her hand and declares that she can fix the armored train. To the surprise of the hunters, after just a few minutes, the girl skillfully copes with the task and successfully starts the power unit of the armored train, bringing it back to life. Margarita, noticing how deftly and quickly the stranger coped with the repair, expresses her admiration for her skills, praises her for her excellent work, and asks her name. The girl, with a slight smile, replies that her name is Lisa, and adds that she is a student at the Technical University, specializing in the repair of complex mechanisms. Thanks to the talent of a young mechanic, the armored train comes to life again and continues its journey across the vast expanses of the desert. After the decision was made to abandon Camp 2, the survivors began discussing where to go next to ensure the group's safety. One of the men suggests that the monsters began their invasion from the North Gate, so the optimal solution would be to head to Camp Number 4. However, despite all the obvious risks, Musk insists on continuing to Camp 5, even if it seems like a more dangerous option. The hunters begin to worry if they have enough fuel to get to Camp 5, since they are responsible for the safety of so many civilians. Margarita, who doesn't understand why Camp Number 5 is so important, the girl asks Musk about his motives. Musk only evasively answers that soon she herself will understand the reason for his persistence. The guy remembers that in a past life, the camps located in the north were the first to stop communicating with the outside world, and soon people learned that these places were completely destroyed and turned into abodes of monsters. Margarita tells the young man that she heard on the news that her father personally arrested Musk, which raises a number of questions in her mind. She decides to ask the young man what her father was like, to which the guy, after hesitating a little, replies that her father was a fair man who stood firmly on his own. Military Camp Number 2 is completely destroyed. It is consumed by fire. Numerous monsters mercilessly devour the bodies of the dead people, leaving behind only chaos and destruction. A huge humanoid monster sits by the fire, holding a human newspaper in his hands, which he studies with obvious interest. His attention is attracted by a huge insect flying nearby. He, without hesitation, instantly strikes with his tentacle, destroying the insect in an instant. The monster stands up abruptly. The monster is filled with deep hatred for humanity. He believes that it has no right to exist on this planet and must be destroyed as quickly as possible. He spreads his massive wings as a malevolent aura flares around him, emitting unimaginable power and menace. The next moment, the monster pushes off the ground with a powerful push and soars into the sky at great speed, preparing for its destructive mission. Civilians gathered in one place look very frightened and confused. Anxiety and concern for their lives and the lives of their loved ones are reflected on their faces. The hunter tries to calm the frightened civilians, assuring them that there is no need to be afraid, since they are at a considerable distance from the monsters. A man standing by the window warily watches the horizon and notices that the cloud of black smoke is getting larger. This makes him worried. Despite the hunter's words that their path is safe and they will not encounter monsters, anxiety and fear continue to appear on the faces of the civilians. They are still very afraid of the unknown threat. The man, peering into the distance with horror, notices something strange, and with a trembling voice informs everyone present that this is not a cloud at all. When the man realizes what he sees in the distance, his face is distorted by horror. In front of them is not a cloud at all, but a huge number of flying monsters, among which a particularly large and sinister humanoid stands out. These creatures are approaching them with great speed. The hunters immediately report to their captain about the impending threat. Margarita answers in a quiet voice that she already sees everything herself. Realizing the seriousness of the situation, the girl understands that a clash is inevitable and assesses the threat as extremely high because the humanoid monster leading this horde had previously managed to kill the commander of the 6th level military camp. The reflection of Captain Margarita is clearly visible in the eyes of the humanoid monster. He carefully watches the girl, focusing his evil gaze on her, as if assessing her strength. The humanoid monster feels doubts in the girl's soul. He is obsessed with one single thought: to destroy all of humanity. Its evil roar spreads throughout the surrounding area, and the monster suddenly grabs a huge insect flying past it. The next moment, the monster snatches the insect's paw and lets out a loud cry. The monster intends to use it as a makeshift spear. The humanoid monster furiously throws its severed paw towards the moving armored train, intending to cause maximum damage. The paw crashes into the train wheel at great speed, breaking it into small parts and disabling the vehicle, which leads to a complete loss of control and traffic stop. The armored train, having lost control after the impact, begins to roll dangerously. Rapid movement is replaced by chaotic braking. Inside the armored train, chaos begins. People lose their balance and fall. Their faces reflect fear and horror as they realize that the situation is getting out of control. Their screams are heard throughout the carriage. Due to the strong impact, Lisa is thrown out onto the street. Musk jumps out of the car after her and helps the girl get to her feet. The young people notice that one of the carriages is overturned. They understand that in this condition, the armored train will not be able to continue moving. Musk, despite the chaos, remains cool and focused. His gaze is full of determination. The guy is ready to act, despite the current critical situation. Margarita and Musk, having gathered all their strength, lift the overturned train carriage, demonstrating superhuman strength. They manage to lift the car, and the overturned mass of metal rises back into its working position with a deafening roar. Lisa, watching this, cannot believe her eyes. She does not understand how two people were able to cope with a multi-ton armored carriage. The civilians and hunters begin to come to their senses, happily realizing that they are still alive and can continue on their way. Margarita orders the hunters to immediately take up a perimeter defense and protect the train from possible attacks. The girl then orders Lisa to urgently repair all the damaged wheels, check the train for faults, and prepare it for departure. Margarita realizes that the loss of the armored train will be a disaster, because it will lead to the death of not only civilians, but will also disrupt their secret mission. Margarita stands in front of an advancing cloud of insects. The girl clenches her fists, preparing for the upcoming battle. She raises her head up. Her gaze is fixed on the huge number of winged monsters filling the sky. Margarita throws her spear with incredible precision and power at a huge flock of flying insects. Her weapon flies across the sky, surrounded by dazzling flashes of energy. With incredible power, it destroys all monsters in its path. A deafening explosion is heard in the sky, after which parts of giant insects torn to pieces begin to fall down. Margarita quickly rushes forward, surrounded by energy flows, leaving behind a trail of purple energy that sparkles in the night sky. Around her there are many giant insects ready to attack, but they cannot resist her strength and speed. In the distance, you can see another cluster of insects, which Margarita easily cuts through with her spear, leaving her enemies not a single chance of salvation. The military closely monitors the girl's every move in battle. Amazed at her fighting abilities, they can hardly believe that she is only the 6th rank. One of the soldiers remembers his commander, who had a rank one step higher, but even he could not demonstrate such unsurpassed combat technique. The hunter, watching the battle, confirms that their captain is indeed only rank 6. He hopes that in the near future this rank will increase significantly due to her outstanding successes. Strong explosions shake the battlefield. Bright fiery flashes tear through the darkness, destroying everything in its path. The air is filled with heat and thick smoke. The remains of destroyed insects scatter in different directions. The man raises his hand, pointing to the sky, and reports that he noticed a huge humanoid insect there. The man claims that it was this humanoid insect that killed the commander of the military base, brutally tearing off his head. Musk and Margarita instantly realize the gravity of the situation, realizing that they have to fight a dangerous and powerful opponent who is clearly superior to their previous enemies. Margarita, gathering all her strength, jumps high into the air and delivers a powerful blow to the huge humanoid insect with her spear. A powerful discharge of electric current instantly strikes the humanoid insect, rapidly spreading throughout its body. Margarita continues her lightning attack. She raises her spear to strike to finish off the leader of the monsters. The girl strikes and is surprised to realize that the monster dodged the blow and is able to move at great speed, and she struck the afterimage. Margarita is surprised to notice how the humanoid monster begins to move around her at incredible speed, creating the illusion that it is in several places at once. Suddenly, the humanoid monster jumps high in the air and delivers a powerful kick to the captain. A blow of enormous force throws the girl several tens of meters, and with enormous acceleration she falls to the ground. Margarita crashes into the rock with enormous force, leaving a deep crack in the stone. Her body is surrounded by the remnants of energy that has not yet had time to dissipate after the powerful blow. She lies motionless, clutching her spear, trying to regain her strength. A mixture of fear and surprise appears on the faces of the hunters. They are very worried that the humanoid monster was able to defeat their commander in battle. The humanoid monster is confident that there is only one step left to victory and furiously rushes at Margarita lying on the ground, intending to end the battle. The huge monster raises its ugly paw, intending to deal a crushing blow to the girl lying on the ground. Margarita is in shock after landing and is unable to fight off or react to the monster's blow. At the last moment, the girl gathers all her strength, jumps to her feet, and blocks the powerful blow of the paw with her combat spear. With a grinding sound, the humanoid monster's paw moves along the spear, knocking out sparks, and inexorably moves towards the girl's head, threatening mortal danger. Margarita can hardly resist the pressure of the monster, seeing how the sharp claw is gradually approaching, threatening to pierce her head. Suddenly, Musk enters the fray and delivers a powerful blow that knocks the humanoid insect aside, saving Margarita from mortal danger. A blow of such power throws the monster towards the nearby forest. It flies and breaks trees in its path. Musk looks towards the monster with hatred. Margarita is very surprised to realize that the young man has such enormous power. The main character decisively heads towards the forest, informing the girl that he himself will take care of the leader of the monsters and orders the captain to deal with the remaining enemies. Margarita follows him with her gaze and says that he should under no circumstances dare to die in this battle. The huge humanoid monster continues to fall, breaking trees and bushes on its way. The monster comes to his senses and rises to his feet. He notices how the main character is approaching him, determined to finish the battle. The humanoid monster sniffs and notices that the guy smells the same as the monsters. The huge insect looks at the approaching Musk and cannot understand whether its opponent is human or monster. Musk confidently continues his movement. The guy throws off the mask from his face and declares that he is neither one nor the other, leaving the monster even more bewildered. Musk stands surrounded by a dark, sinister aura. His face remains calm and focused. Shadows begin to appear around him. They envelop his figure and give him the appearance of a being that goes beyond human understanding. Musk is in the form of a monster. He believes that this state is ideal for this battle. It allows him to reveal his full potential. He strokes his sword affectionately, as if greeting an old friend, and says with satisfaction that he can finally unleash his true power. As soon as Musk turns into a monster, anxiety flares up in the heart of the huge insect. It feels a growing threat. The humanoid monster understands that the only correct option is to attack first and not give the enemy time to prepare. The huge insect lets out a furious roar and rushes at the young man, who has taken the form of a monster. The humanoid monster raises its massive arm to strike. It is filled with hatred and prepares to deliver a crushing blow. The leader of the insects delivers a colossal blow that hits Musk in the head. A huge explosion occurs, the waves from which spread around with incredible speed. The smoke after the explosion dissipates. The humanoid monster carefully peers at the emerging silhouette. Musk asks the leader of the insects if this is all the power he can muster. The humanoid, filled with anger and rage, screams loudly and begins to deal a huge number of blows to the main character. Musk decides to stop attacking the humanoid monster. The guy catches his fist with his hand and thereby stops all his attacks. Musk says he's had enough and says now it's his turn to show his strength.